everybody.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Kirti, 2016 IIT BHU mining graduate. They'll take you through this program today.
Terrific. And where are you now?
I am in Anantapur, my hometown, but I work in Bangalore.
Okay.
Yeah, great to meet all of you.
Yes. Which company you work for?
Yeah, I'm working in Swiggy as senior business analyst, sir.
Swiggy. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, thanks to Zoom and the internet, today you can actually bring together people from all over the world.
That's right, sir. That's right. That is the power of the power of technology. I would also like to welcome Abhijit Solanki, who is the president of IIBA. He is our international body for IIT BHU alumni.
Yes.
So maybe a couple of words from you, Abhijit. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thanks for the intro. And nice to see you all, some for the first time and some for a few times. Ajit, both you and B are like probably in Bay Area, or you're in India right now?
I'm in the Bay Area.
Okay. I'm in Fremont.
Oh, you are in Fremont? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think Ajit Singh, you are also in the Bay Area, right?
Palo Alto, last time he's on mute.
Ajit is on mute. You are muted, Ajit. Yeah. We still cannot hear you.
Ajit, we can't hear you.
Is this any better?
Yeah,
much better.
Lot better.
Okay, so I've taken off my headphones.
Yeah.
That's much better.
So everybody is asking, where are you located, sir?
I'm based in the Bay Area, but today I'm in New York at my daughter's place. And
oh wow, that's like 12:30 now for you.
Oh, sorry for that.
it is just past midnight.
It's such a high commitment from your side, Dr. Ajit. I really appreciate it.
Boss मग्गा मारने के लिए रात को उठते थे ना 12 बजे.
So we have some of our executive committee members joining us. Guna, Onkar Gupta, Devashish, Sunil Khanna. Sunil, your video is not on, Sunil. Are you putting on your video? Yeah, Sunil. Yeah. Just your face is getting a little cut off. If you can just come a little below. Yeah, just a little below. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Yeah, Sunil is, as you know, the chairman of our Institute Affairs Committee. Yeah. And Pramod is the chair of our Alumni Batch and Branch Council, which is a new council we have created where we have batch ambassadors and branch ambassadors.
And aptly named ABBA, which is ABBA of AIBA.
And it's something that both IBGA and AIBA are sharing the ABBA,
Yeah. So that's why it is ABBA for everybody.
Very nice. I remember Ajit, 85 batch. I'm 87 batch, Ajit. I remember when I was in the college in the first year. There, this Sardaji is a 10-pointer. I still remember that.
My nickname used to be Lal Cycle Kala Jhola. During the class, I would be headed to the library and zero social skills, but
85 batch. I used to be a little close with Ram.
Namaskar, Surya ji. Namaskar.
Ravi.
Professor Surya Pratap, welcome. Yeah. Good morning. Shubham,
thank you, sir.
We have Dirghayu with us, who is one of the lifelines of our program. He's the final year student pharma and also the VP of the E-Cell. So we are, Dirghayu, say hi to everybody. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
The name itself is very nice, Dirghayu.
I think we met in January, right? When I was there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I did. You should induct this IIT BHU alumni Murali Tirumale who just had a very big success with his company. And if you don't have,
he's already.
I think he's our batch, 82 batch, Murli T, right?
Yeah.
Electronics.
Very smart guy. He's very good in very good in product management and marketing and all. So you should actually induct him into the ESL.
Sure, sir.
Sir, can I say something? You're all smart.
Yeah.
You're all smart guy.
And now he has time. He recently sold his company, sir.
Yeah. He's a very smart guy. I mean, this is like his third success. So tomorrow I'm going to be meeting him and I'll let him know. He should get involved actively.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Kirti, you can start the Kulgeet.
You are going to the Rishi Kumar.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Will you be there?
Rishi sent me that thing. Means I'm not sure, but I saw your name. I spoke to Murli. He will be there, and Walia also.
Yeah. You should come.
Some of the folks. Yeah. I will definitely try.
Yeah.
And I think Sanjeev, you should introduce Yash.
Yeah. So one of our lifelines, apart from Kirti, is Yash Shah. 2017 batch. He has put the whole program together. So we must give a big hand to Yash. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yash is the main functionary of the Student Alumni Interaction Cell when we started the activities in the institute.
Sir, we know how to pick the stars.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the modest introduction. It's always great to be part of anything that is associated.
And behind the scenes, are people like students like Ria, then Manhar.
Pranav.
Pranav is also, of course, going to
point out it's 10 already. Do we want to?
So start the Kulgeet.
Yeah.
Professor Dhara is joined, by the way. Welcome, sir.
Okay. Welcome.
Namaskar. Very nice.
Namaskar, sir.
I see Sanjay Govil also.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah. So before we start off today, as I've announced before also, please keep yourself on mute and your mobile phones also on silent.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah. Very good morning, everyone. I hope you all are safe and strong. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. This is Kirti Aluru, IIT BHU 2016 mining graduate, and I'll take you through today's program. We also have Yash with us, 2017 IIT BHU alumnus on audio and video. Association of IIT BHU, Global and National Alumni, along with Entrepreneurship Cell, present this web summit on future of healthcare as part of the Future series, sponsored by Platinum sponsor Amazon Web Services, Platform sponsor RateGain, Knowledge partner Pan IIT Alumni Association and CII. Unlike any other webinar topics, future of healthcare is very important as the afterworld of COVID would experience major changes in our policies, systems, and technologies. We have 4 major sessions today: Future Ventures, Future Now, Future Speak, Future Note, along with fun quiz breaks and interesting video clips. The chief guest of our summit is Dr. Kota Harinarayana, Chairman of Board of Governors, IIT BHU. I am fully geared up and excited to hear from startups, angel investors, and global health leaders, and also from our distinguished alumni. I hope you all are too. What are we waiting for? Let's start. Let's start this with Kulgeet, which is a tribute of love to the founder of BHU, Pandit Madan Mohan Malavya. Yash, please play Kulgeet.
मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी मधुर मनोहर सुज्ञान धर्म और सत्य राशि बसी है गंगा के रम्य तट पर। ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व वेद राजधानी। नए नहीं है ये ईंट पत्थर, है विश्वकर्मा का कार्य सुंदर। रचे है विद्या के भव्य मंदिर, ये सर्व सृष्टि की राजधानी, राजधानी अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी।
अपरंपार है।
यहाँ की है ये पवित्र शिक्षा कि सत्य पहले फिर आत्मरक्षा। बिके हरिश्चंद्र थे यहीं पर, ये सत्य शिक्षा की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। वेद ईश्वर की सत्यवाणी बने जिन्हें पढ़ के ब्रह्म ज्ञानी। थे व्यास जी ने रचे यहीं पर, ये ब्रह्म विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। वह मुक्ति पद को दिलाने वाले, सुधर्म पथ पर चलाने वाले। यही फले फूले बुद्ध शंकर, ये राज ऋषियों की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। सुरम्य धाराए वरुणासी नहाए जिनमें कबीर तुलसी। भला हो कविता का क्यों न आकर, ये वाग विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। विविध कला अर्थशास्त्र गायन, गणित खनिज औषधि रसायन। प्रतीचि प्राची का मेल सुंदर, ये विश्वविद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी।
काशी।
Thanks, Yash. Rendition of Kulgeet always feels divine. Let's move on to our first event, Future Ventures. I now invite Dirghayu, senior undergraduate from Pharmaceutical Engineering, Vice President of Entrepreneurship Cell to introduce the theme of future ventures, panelists, startups, and kickstart the session. Over to you, Dirgayu.
Requesting Mr. Ajit Saran to go on mute, please. Thank you.
Dirgayu, you are there?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are. Please go ahead.
Great. Thanks for the nice introduction, Kirti. Future Ventures aims to give the early stage startups a platform to showcase their concept and how they are working to make a dent in the ecosystem. For this event, we have invited 5 well-known panelists and 5 ventures who are going to showcase their startup solutions. Introducing the panelists, we have first Mr. B.V. Jagadish. He is the managing partner at Kaj Ventures. He has successfully invested and led and guided several companies such as Nutanix, Yodlee, Netscaler, Arkin, Elasticbox, and many more. Then we have Dr. Ajit Singh, distinguished alumnus from IIT BHU, batch of 85 Electrical. He is currently the MD of Artiman Ventures. Also, he is an adjunct professor in the School of Medicine at Stanford University. Prior to that, Dr. Ajit has spent nearly 20 years at Siemens, most recently as the Chief Executive Officer of Digital Radiology and Medical Informatics Business at Siemens. We also have with us Ms. Anu Acharya ma'am, a distinguished alumna from IIT Kharagpur, co-founder and CEO of Map My Genome. He was named by Red Herring magazine to the list of 25 tech titans under 35 in 2006. She has also received the Entrepreneur of the Year award by Biospectrum magazine in 2008 and was also awarded Young Global Leader by World Economic Forum in 2011. Then we have Mr. Pratish Gupta, CEO and CBO of Dozy, a graduate from IIT Bombay. Mr. Gupta has also worked as a management consultant with Boston Consulting Group. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Ajay Nair. He is the CEO of Swasth, a non-profit alliance that builds digital health infrastructure for public benefit. He has been an advisor to Fortune 500 companies and digital health innovators in the space. In 2010, he co-founded and led Mera Doctor to become one of the India's largest telemedicine networks, serving over 700,000 patients across every state of the country. With such eminent panelists on board, and with no further ado, let's start with the startup presentations. And just to brief once again, every startup will get a 3-minute pitch and 4 minutes of feedback and discussion with the panelists. First in line, we have Happy Minds, a mental health startup that connects you with the therapists and increases the efficiency of a remote consulting session, being presented by the co-founder and CEO, Shashwat Agarwal, finally a student majoring in mechanical engineering from IIT BHU. Over to you, Shashwat.
Thanks, Dirgayu. I'll just share my screen.
Great.
Is my screen visible?
The screen is not visible yet.
Showing loading.
Okay, just a moment.
Yeah, visible now.
Okay. Every 1 in 5 people in our country suffer from some form of mental illness, and almost all of us suffer from anxiety in our lives. For every 1 lakh people in India, there is just one psychologist. Thus, it is very tough for psychologists to maintain the same level of focus while telecounseling all their clients. They face the hassle of multitasking because they need to pick up the verbal and visual cues of the user and at the same time write notes of the session. The pain points of a psychologist are very different from that of a doctor. Here is where we come in, Happy Minds. We feel that this is the correct time for a startup because the pandemic has fueled people's receptivity towards seeking support for mental health. We enable the psychologists to establish a strong digital profile that provides clinic branding, details about their expertise, and reviews. They can manage appointments, accept payments, store session notes, and assign and track homework tasks. With just a few taps, they can add details about any upcoming webinar, and it is shared with their entire client base. Using Happy Minds, they can also acquire new clients. Our team has developed an assistive technology that provides them real-time insights about the user based on the words used and tone of the user, which helps in remote diagnosis. The model is confined for English language alone as of now. Privacy is a core value on which we have built our app. All the data is end-to-end encrypted and the models are deployed on the smartphone. So it essentially captures the rate at which I'm speaking, what my tone is, and gives insights to the psychologist. The users, on the other hand, can connect with RCI registered therapists in a secure manner using chat, voice, or video call. Using the smartphone sensors, we also provide them a log of their step count, sleep activity, and mood. These can be shared with the therapist, which help in diagnosis. They can maintain a log of their daily journals and track homework tasks allotted to them. They are also notified about the upcoming webinars by their therapist and can RSVP it through the app itself. Commission per consultation on our website. We also aim to tie up with institutions as their employee wellness partner to provide counseling to their employees or students. This is how our journey has been. From March to June, we interviewed psychologists and users. Post this, our team developed the MVP and we did a private beta testing in June with 6 psychologists and 42 users. We are currently in phase 2. Our application was launched as a CRM on Android on August 25th. It is currently being used by 21 psychologists. Post this, we would be allowing non-existing clients to use our app starting from October and plan to tie up with institutions in November. We are also being supported by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology as a startup won the Global Hack organized by the Government of India and Europe. Coming to our roadmap, we aim to have 10K consultations and partner with 4 institutions. We would be expanding horizontally to onboard psychiatrists and provide self-care resources on the app as well. These are some of our competitors. Clarigent Health is a leading US-based startup that uses computer intelligence to increase the efficiency of a remote session. NRR is a startup based in India, and within the lockdown itself, it partnered with 40 organizations as their employee wellness partner. We are a team of 10 members consisting of designers, machine learning engineers, psychologists, and technical developers. The core team currently consists of 2 members. I am Shashwat Agarwal and my co-founder is Divyansh Kumar. We are looking to onboard mentors that could help us in business strategy and in collaborating with institutions. Do write to us if you would like to mentor us in our journey. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Shashwat. That was a great start by Shashwat. Now I would like to request Jagdish sir to share his opinions on the same.
Yeah, Shashwat, it's a good presentation. I think you started off by defining the problem and then, how you are creating this marketplace, kind of like a Uber or Tutor Vista that kind of connected the teachers to the students. So you sort of brought together. I think a couple of things that you may want to look at addressing as well. What is the root cause of this depression? There are many things in the society that is driving a lot of these people to go into this depression state. So I think one is addressing, the immediate need, which is bringing together the psychologists and then addressing the problem who are going through the depression. Mm-hmm. But there are 2 major things that you need to look at. One is, what is the root cause of why people are going through this depression, and the psychologists that you're going to map to the people who are going through that problem. If you actually understand, because, people go through depression for various reasons, mm-hmm. right? So if you can understand the root cause and then map it to an expert psychologist who sort of addresses those issues to mm-hmm. help the patient to completely come out of that depression state, that's an effort. It's not a one-time kind of a treatment, right? Mm-hmm. The depression is not like, okay, I'll give you a medicine and then you come out of it. This is like a 6 months treatment, 1 year treatment. Mm-hmm. So if you can figure the root cause and then mapping that, so that's one issue. The second is you got to make sure that you qualify the psychologist, right? Otherwise, every Tom, Dick, and Harry will just sign up in this marketplace. But there has to be a way for you, sort of like what Uber does. It verifies who the driver is, the background of the driver, and continuously every 2 months, 3 months, it is continuously testing the driver as well. So how do you qualify these psychologists to make sure that they fit in? Because otherwise, if I'm a patient and then you give me some very crappy kind of a psychologist, right? Then I will immediately post it on the internet that this service is not reliable, this service is not really useful to me. Right? I think addressing the problem from a 360-degree point of view, right? These are the kind of things that you need to think through. But I think you really started off by saying this is a big problem, and the number of psychologists that exist today are very, very minimal, and this problem needs to be addressed. Otherwise, it will just get worse, right? So I think now you need to really start thinking about how do you bring the solution properly, and then comes the whole go-to-market kind of a thing. How do you build this marketing awareness? How do you build both the buyer and the seller, right? Because this is a marketplace. The biggest challenge for you is it's a catch-22 situation, meaning unless you have psychologists, patients won't come.
Yes.
And if you get the patients, if you don't have patients, then psychologists will sign up, and then they'll say, I don't have any patients, so then they'll go away, right? So you have to really study the model of many of these marketplace kind of companies, right? How did they evolve? How did they solve both the seller and the buyer, right? And how do you bring those things together? I think those are the marketing related issues that you need to address. So otherwise, I'm glad you are actually tackling this problem. So good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Just to add on to that, so currently we are onboarding only RCA registered psychologists. RCA is a council, Rehabilitation Council of India, that verifies psychologists on their own and assigns them a number. So for the initial 3 or 4 months phases, we are only concentrating on that. Post that, we would have a supervising team of psychologists that would build an operation engine to maybe some courses that every psychologist need to do before getting onboarded if he or she does not have RCA number. And the catch-22 problem really makes sense. In the beta testing, we faced this thing. So what we did is that we have launched it as a CRM since August. So we have onboarded 21 psychologists who are using this app for the CRM. So even if our team is not able to get new clients, the psychologists wouldn't sit idle because they are able to use the same app for their existing clients. So this is how we are approaching it. But yeah, we would definitely look at other models as well.
Yeah. And the other thing is, what kind of funding would you need to build this out? I think that is something that you will have to talk about, right? And how do you want to use the funds? How much money you want to raise, and how do you want to use these funds in a very phased approach? And then show some sort of a business plan as to how you are going to. I mean, I think you showed to some extent what kind of number of consultations that you're going to have and all. Yeah, but I think if you can show from a business plan perspective, that will be very helpful.
Okay, definitely.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Shashwat. Dirgayu, let's move on to our next.
Sure.
Startup. Yeah. Thank you, sir. That's great feedback.
Thanks a lot, sir.
So next we have Mediport, creating personalized medical reports in a digestible format for the common people. Inviting the co-founder Manthan Jain, electronics graduate from IIT BHU, batch of 2020. Over to you, Manthan.
Thanks for the introduction, Dirgayu. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
All right, so let's start. Hi, everyone. We are Team Mediport, and we are working on personalizing medical reports at one click. So let's start with one simple question. Can any one of you understand anything from these reports? I'm pretty sure the answer will be no for majority of the people. And that it's why? Because these reports are one complicated, confusing, and overwhelming. Basically, you can't understand anything from these reports. And what will a user do in this case? You will either go to a Google or a Wikipedia to search about your health condition. And this is a problem that we face majorly at standalone centers, which surprisingly constitutes 50% of the market distribution. And at Mediport, we are focusing on these standalone centers in the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities. Let me give you an example. We have Shubham Jain, who is an owner in a tier 2 city, which is Bhopal, where he's forced to use a decade-old reporting format given by some shady software provider. And thus, he lacks a good user experience. And he also faces a problem to differentiate himself from the nearby path labs. And the third and the most important, he lacks a fighting chance against the large diagnostic chains. But at Mediport, we are giving them that opportunity. We present in front of you the smart reports by Mediport. The left report that you see is the current reports produced by the path labs, and the right one is the one which we have prepared at Mediport. Let me tell you some of the unique features of the personalized reports. First, we present you the information in a very understandable way, minimal jargon, and information in a very digestible way. These reports are dynamic. We present to you what matters to you most. If something goes out of range, then that thing gets automatically popped up at the top. And the third, and the most important, we give you personalized lifestyle suggestions based on your vital biomarkers. Now, we often get asked from people, are we trying to replace doctors? No, we are not. In fact, we are trying to make their lives easier. At Mediport, we are trying to reduce the average time to treat a patient, which enables the doctor to treat more number of patients, resulting in increased revenue and also easing the burden on the existing health infrastructure. So how we are doing it? Presently, we have an independent LIS, which we are offering on a monthly or an annual subscription charges. And in future, we also plan to have an API integration in which we'll be charging on a per API call. Some numbers, we did a pilot study in the last 3 months with a couple of startups like Nirogyan and Life Health, where we tapped 12,000 plus unique users, and we were able to have a 78% inclination. For these efforts, we have also been covered by news outlets like Times of India and Dainik Jagran in the past. This is our founding team, and what we are looking for? We are looking for mentorship and guidance to scale our product. Thank you.
Thanks, Manthan. Now I would like to request Anu ma'am to share her thoughts on the feedback on this.
Thank you, Manthan, for a great presentation. I think there are a couple of points that I would like to bring up. And I think one is that when we look at the Indian medical system, I think one of the first things that a lot of people want is actually a summary first. Because when you're distinguishing between a doctor and a consumer, so there is aspect of how you would make a doctor understand the result versus how you make a consumer understand the result. So I think while it's a great effort to put that over there, I would say that for doctors, they still need a one-page quick summary so that they can quickly make a decision. So that would be one thing. The second is that I think it's a great problem to solve, but one of the bigger issues that is there is also a longer term effect of what is going on. So for instance, if you go to a doctor multiple times, can you show a trend line? I think that would be a far more valuable aspect of saying that is there something that we are seeing that is going up or down, right? And what you've done on the consumer side is fantastic, because obviously I think for consumers to get that information is valuable. But maybe it would be helpful to present it in an app which would be easier to understand for consumers, because in the end, I think if you give a summary and then let them choose, I think it would be much easier to visualize it. So those are some of the things I would look at. That one, you look at it from a trend analysis, because that's something that an average pathology lab cannot do, right? You can do it for someone who has a built-in infrastructure. But the second is if you're looking at it clearly from what value that a consumer versus a doctor, then I would say that at least from my discussion with doctors, we had a 100-page report and all they wanted to see was a one-page summary. Yeah. So finally, we ended up creating something which was a one-page summary or two, 3 pages summary, and then following that, a much more detailed report. So I think that helps in at least understanding who wants more. And the third would be obviously to see that, there are already a lot of players in the market. How do you make sure that you do something that is easy to implement, can connect with a lot of the older systems that are there? And I think for that, if you want to bring in something that's brand new, how do you make sure that you can get your next door pathology lab to actually believe in something like this, right? So those would be a few comments that I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gayu, before you go to the next thing, I would just like to acknowledge some of our Pan IIT senior members who have joined. There is the president of Pan IIT, Krishan Dhar, Raj Nair, Raja Venkatraman, and Shamindra Narayan. They've just joined, just wanted to acknowledge them. Go ahead.
Thanks, sir.
Possible to share something if I have here? Are the participants allowed to share something quickly?
I think later would be a good idea, Prabhat. Let us continue with the program. We are a bit tightly spaced right now.
Yeah, sir.
Good, thanks.
Thanks for understanding.
Thanks. Now we have another startup, MedFly, who is involved in a teleconsultation application, connecting doctors and patients at the comfort of their homes. To make their pitch, I invite their co-founder, Shreya Shanzakar, IIT BHU batch of 2018, Department of Electrical Engineering. Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you very much, Dirghayu. Is my screen visible?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Hello.
So current teleconsultation apps don't provide the level of flexibility or control that doctors need over their consultations. They have to compete with other doctors for visibility based on customer feedbacks, and the user experience can be challenging, especially for elderly and rural populations, which overall leads to a compromised patient loyalty. Doctors also resort to video calling apps like WhatsApp and Zoom, but since they are mostly informal in nature, they go unpaid a lot of times, resulting in reduced earnings for the doctor. Plus, there's the hassle of managing multiple apps for different purposes. And there comes MedFly for verified doctors, where a doctor can create appointment and share the meeting link with the patient, and patient can book appointment using doctor's unique booking page. Through MedFly, doctors will experience increased paid consultations, improved patient loyalty. There won't be any rating-based competition amongst them, and they can enjoy benefits of PWA since they don't have to necessarily download apps anymore. To fulfill our mission of creating a well-integrated, seamless teleconsultation platform for all, we'll eventually be partnering with diagnostic labs, pharmacies, medical device companies, and other partners to give them a seamless experience. We are different from our competitors in the way that we give more control and flexibility over teleconsultations to the doctor. We offer a one-stop teleconsultation experience, and we are going to adopt a very vertically focused approach. So currently we have developed our MVP available at the link given, and based on the feedback we received and interviews we conducted with like 100+ doctors, we realized that we need to have a depth-first approach, focusing on each specialization separately, and also focus on patient ease. So we have finalized our initial target to be homeopathy, Ayurvedic, dermatologists, physiotherapists, and general medicine practitioners from Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities, primarily because they comparatively have easier adaptation to teleconsultation compared to other medical streams. Plus, there is huge untapped market potential that we can tap. So for our early adopters, we are going to give them medicine delivery for homeopathy and Ayurvedic doctors. And for physiotherapists, we will have video sharing and repository feature. Then we'll move on to other specializations by integrating medical devices in the app for improved diagnosis and eventually partnering with labs for DICOM medical report sharing. Our ultimate vision is to penetrate the rural markets as well, who need us the most, by providing very simple user experience with a multilingual app and features like offline kiosks for patient assistance. We plan to collect revenue from subscription fee as well as commission on consultation fee. And our secondary revenue stream would be commissions from our partners in future. We are a 2-member team from IIT BHU and IIT Delhi 2018 batch. And we are seeking mentorship as well as funding of rupees 25 lakh for product development and customer acquisition. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Shreya. Now I would like to request Mr. Pratish Gupta to share his thoughts and the feedback on Shreya's pitch and ideas.
Right. Hey, great presentation. I think it's a problem which exist and needs to be solved for, especially from the, really like the idea of focused care, right? And targeting segments which are currently not tapped that fully, right? So that's a great thing. What I would suggest you to do specifically is, do a very small cohort of target a very small cohort of doctors first, and very small cohort of patients, right? And create 100 or maybe 500 paying customers only, right? And solve for the problems for them, because the challenge that I foresee that you will face is the competition from some of the bigger players, right? They already have a template which they can replicate to other other streams, right? For practo, it's much easier to go to dermatology, and for cult to go to other dermatology and Ayurvedic practices, and some of them are already starting to do that, right? And for a consumer, it's much easier to switch to already being part of the cult ecosystem, for example, or practo ecosystem. It's much easier for me to continue taking up their services, right? So from that perspective, I'll have much more trust factor in them than in a new platform which is up and coming, right? So I would really suggest that instead of opening up yourself to, let's say, 10 practices that you just or 5 practices that you mentioned, pick up one of them, really prove your value, right, to customer and the doctor. That's one thing. Second thing you mentioned about B2B integrations. The challenge with B2B integrations generally is you need to hit a scale for you to be relevant when it comes for an enterprise to pair up with you, right? So how do you really, or your value proposition needs to be so differentiated that you can solve for it, right? So you need to figure out either of the two things, right? And at the same time, your tech stack or technology, technology architecture needs to be so as in robust and modular from the very beginning, that you can actually create those APIs and have opened up those APIs. You're ready for integrations, because some of the challenges that technology companies face later on is their APIs are generally not ready, right? And hence they can't integrate with other companies, right? So create a technology stack from the very beginning, which is modular and at the same time integrable with other enterprises. So I think just keep those 3 things focused, and I think in focus, and you'll be, I think, good from the beginning.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So this was the question that I wanted to ask you as well. So thanks very much. And about focusing on one practice that you said. So our initial target, we had thought of it like the first target would be probably homeopathy. And since medicine delivery of homeopathy is very key problem for them, especially when it's remote. So that's something that, the first probably B2B integration that we plan to have would be with a courier partner, with a delivery partner for home-to-home pickups and drops. So yes, I think whatever your suggestions were makes really a lot of sense, and that's really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Priya. Now the next is iMoms, a name I like a lot. Has designed an app for the health and the wellness of expecting mothers and their babies. The team calls this app Headspace for Pregnancy, and this app is currently recommended by 1,000+ doctors. Being presented by Ravi Teja. He is an IIT BHU alumnus of 2017 from Mechanical Engineering Department. He is a meditator, product guy, and belongs to the family of 5 generations of Ayurvedic physicians. Over to you, Ravi.
Thanks a lot, Gayu. Hello, everyone. So we are iMoms. We are trying to create a safe womb environment for healthy and happy. So before I start, I just want to give you a context of the life of an expecting mother. If you see the life of an expecting mother, most of them, they're feeling stressed, from mild to severe anxiety stress they're facing. More and more pregnancies are high risk currently, and more people are living in nuclear families without the family support. And of course, it's a major problem in the healthcare system, information asymmetry. We have 100,000 obstetricians and 30 million pregnancies. So 5 minutes is the only time a pregnant mother is getting from her doctor. Why pregnancy is important, I wanted to add, because it is more important than we all know. Pregnancy is actually shaping the brain architecture of the baby. It is deciding the immunity of the babies in the future. So this 9 months is dictating the entire life of...
Ravi, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, please speak a little louder, right? We're hearing some buzzing noise. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's way better now.
It was very low earlier.
Yeah. So pregnancy, as I said, it is way important than we thought on the human life. It is actually impacting everything: the immunity, future personality, brain architecture, learning, and IQ. So that is the reason we started. And this problem we saw in all the reproductive health sectors for women health. So we created mobile application called iMoms, which we call the Headspace for pregnancy, where we have a 9 months program, which audiovisual program, which a pregnant woman can follow. It consists of meditations, baby bonding exercises, harmonizing music, yoga, breathing exercises, and we have a positive community. We do live sessions with doctors every single day. So far, we have done 170 plus live sessions and answered 30,000 plus questions live. That coming to the traction, we launched back in November 2019. So far, we have seen 75,000 plus installs, 32% month-on-month growth. And we have a freemium subscription model where people pay $799 for the pregnancy or $129 per month. And we have seen 2,100 plus paid subscribers. Our revenue is growing 50% month-on-month, and our conversion rates are 6%, which are 3x better than the industry standard. 45% women are retaining after 10th week. And in the premium subscribers, it is 92% after 10th week. We are being trusted by 1,000 plus doctors. The larger vision is we have unicorns like Headspace and Calm, which are generalized mindful approach, making 200 million AR. But we want to start with, give a personalized mindfulness approach, starting with a small niche of pregnancy. And we have plans to expand vertically, horizontally, as well as geographically. As I said, there are various problems in various phases of women health: pregnancy, preconception, early motherhood, as well as menopause area. So the whole market size is $2.6 billion potential, annual potential. We're currently focusing on India pregnancy market and subscription business. We have plans to expand in other businesses, in other adjacent markets as well. The team consists of a very, very senior obstetrician who delivered 10,000 plus babies, and being the president of FOXY, the Organization for Gynecologists and Obstetricians in India. And Rajeshji, who is the meditation coach, who taught more than 2 lakh people how to meditate. And Mayur and me both are from IIT Varanasi. We both are meditators for the past 4 years. We strongly realize the importance of holistic approach towards human health. And we thought pregnancy is the right point to start because of the impact which we can create. So far, we have been covered organically by major media houses, and we have been awarded second best digital health app in the Atmanirbhar App Challenge. And our Honorable Prime Minister and a couple of union ministers have tweeted about us. So this is the traction and what we were so far. And coming to all the wonderful folks out there. So we are looking for a product and business expertise, as well as we are currently closing a 300K USD seed round, and 30 lakhs is the amount which is still left up for grabs. So if you wish to participate in the round, that will be very helpful. So that's it from iMom's side. Thank you so much, Dhiraj.
Thanks. That sounded great. Now I would like to request Dr. Ajit Singh sir to share his thoughts and feedback on iMoms. Go to you, sir.
So Dhiraj, I will share my feedback on iMoms, and the question is, are we going into a summary session after that as well? Because I can then capture some of the key points that apply to all of them. What's the sequence?
Yeah, so we would be doing that part, like we would be summarizing that part. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Ajit sir will do a quick summary because of the time constraints. Yeah.
Yep.
After the.
Okay, understood. So look, my first of all, an important topic. The issue in your case, Ravi, would be how do you engage? How do you pull people in? What's the cost of customer acquisition? And a point I saw across the board, across all the presentations, the focus on what the competitive scenario is, how you're different, what is the vital 1 or 2 problems you're solving that others are not. That requires a lot of focus. Consumers are really fickle. Now, as it turns out, a pregnant woman is a remarkably high traction customer. It's a remarkably sticky customer. If you can get their attention, it's probably the one most important event of their life. That'll happen maybe once, maybe twice. That's it. Especially the kind of clientele you're attracting, that's 1 or 2 children in a lifetime. And if you can create stickiness, it is just perfect 100% stickiness. And unfortunately, I did not see anything that tells me exactly how you plan to achieve it. You don't need to answer the question. It's more a food for thought.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So the retention metrics are measured. We have been seeing industry retention metrics better than industry. So the content which we gave is the mindfulness content. So that is actually helping them right from morning to night. The whole day they meditate in the morning, they listen to music, and they ask questions when they have, and before night the family comes and do baby bonding exercises. So we have been engaging them throughout the day, and there's a lot of passion in this particular life event. So we see, with little effort also we could see much higher results. And coming to cost of acquisition, 60% of our acquisition is coming through digital ads, Facebook, Google, and Google App campaigns. So we are seeing a CAC of around 5 rupees per install as of now, which is highly optimized. 13 rupees per install is the industry average. So we brought it down to 5 rupees, and 40% of our installs are coming through word of mouth. Half of them are being referred by their own doctor, and half the pregnant women sharing among themselves. And the customer acquisition strategy is scalable. We have a network of 1,000+ doctors. Of them, 300 of them are referring. And for every 1 rupee we're spending on ad spends, we're getting 5 rupees back in return. So we are looking to scale the same thing, 50% month on month.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. So lastly, we have OPD Lift, one-stop telemedicine focused with video consultation application, being presented by the founder and CEO Deepak Gandotra, IIT BHU batch of 2009, Department of Chemical Engineering, and ISP batch of 16. He also has 10 years of global healthcare experience. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Dirgayu. Good morning, everyone. Although I'm not as young as the rest of the great presenters, but I'll be telling you about my young startup, OPD Lift. We are a B2B SaaS healthcare platform working in consolidating different consultation formats at one place. We are working with clinics and hospitals across India, and the USP is we do not require an app at the patient's end for any of the healthcare interaction. Before I talk about OPD Lift, let's take a step back and understand what is wrong with the current outpatient scenario. The value chain integration pre, post, and during consultation is broken in India and almost across the world. When we look at, and it manifests itself in different problems. So within India, in metro cities, we see that patients typically find doctors online, they want to book appointment, but that leads to 30% of the resources being wasted in the form of no-shows. On the other hand, rest of Bharat, they still continue to get healthcare delivery in the form of walk-in experience, which brings in a lot of uncertainty in terms of waiting time, in terms of doctor-patient interaction, and post-OPD healthcare delivery. OPD Lift integrates all of that at one platform, and we work across consultation formats. So in terms of our feature sets, we take care of telemedicine patients, appointment at the physical location, and walk-in patients. It includes appointment booking in vernacular. We are providing HIPAA-compliant telemedicine without requiring installation of patient app at their end, something that we are really proud of, which has given us traction beyond metro and tier 1 cities. In fact, 65% of our customers are from tier 2 and beyond, and great customer stories from remotest parts of India. We are also working on downstream OPD integration. This is an India-specific problem, and we believe that once the OPD is over, if we connect the patient with the pharmacies and diagnostic labs, it is going to improve bringing all the ecosystem together. For walk-in patients, we provide automatic wait time updates, and everything is integrated with our CRM on WhatsApp. So people get updates from pre, post, and during consultation. In terms of the benefits, when it comes to the service providers, the follow-up rate is improved because of omni-channel. Patient loyalty is improved. Walk-in patients get almost an appointment-like experience, and we give a private and secured feedback, unlike online aggregators, something that hospitals and clinics can really delve upon and improve their practices. When it comes to the financial side of system, their revenue improves because of the downstream OPD integration and the improvement in patient volume, and they get to build their own brand rather than piggyback on or be dependent on any other aggregator. But the real beneficiary is the patient, because it leads to better health outcomes. Non-tech savvy patients, especially those who do not know how to configure apps or have poor internet connectivity, get access to their doctors. And we are also in line with the initiative that the Prime Minister announced a few months back around the National Digital Health Mission. We are in the process of creating a health diary for the patients where they can keep track of their past medical records, both in the OPD setting and the rest of the diagnostic and IPD. So it all brings it together. And in terms of the customers, we are working with close to 360 overall customers. Let me jump to that side. 270 of them are paid customers, and these are the current areas where we are focusing on. National Digital Health Mission is something I spoke about, the OPD value chain integration and HIS integration to serve hospitals and health centers. This is the team. I spent 10 years of global healthcare experience in India, EU, and US. I worked with e-commerce companies, and we have a very talented team from across the board on different functions. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepak sir, for the nice speech. Now I would like to request Dr. Ajay Nair sir to share his thoughts and feedback on the same.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, the background is cutting in and out. So thank you, Deepak. I think it was a great presentation. And I think I like the one key insight that you have there in terms of not making the patient download an app, because when you go to the OPD, it's not necessarily a very frequent use case. Patients might not necessarily want to have download and configure an app. And I think it's pretty cool that you allow the patient, allow it to be omnichannel at the patient side. I think some of the questions I would ask are similar to what have been asked with other panelists. And I think, I'm correct in understanding, I guess, that this is really positioned as a B2B SaaS CRM kind of software for doctors. I guess the question there is, what is the immediate key benefit that they get, this revenue optimization that you're showing them, can that, how well can you deliver on that? I guess that is one sort of set of questions. Because doctors traditionally have not really digitized, and in a market like India, India is not a payer-driven market; it's an out-of-pocket market. In an out-of-pocket market, clinicians and OPDs generally have not had a lot of reason to digitize because there's no payer demanding digital records. So it's a harder problem to solve because you really have to show them value. And I guess the question there is, how confident are you that you can keep showing value there? The other piece is that there's been other folks too who built SaaS apps and built software for doctors, and one key problem has been just acquisition, right? So I think that it's really B2B, but it almost has B2C characteristics because you need to go convince each person. And they might end up being a fairly low ticket size in terms of what the doctor is willing to pay. So I think those are some of the things that I would actually look at. And also wanted to understand is that you mentioned aggregator at some level. Is there any plan to turn into a marketplace and allow discovery, or is that completely not on the roadmap? So that is the other question. But I think the key things to figure out would be value, how well can you deliver value, and how to how many, because the initial set of doctors, you might get a bunch of early adopters who really want something like this. And the pandemic has also given you this moment where people actually want telemedicine or want to, because the physical clinics are shut down. So question is, where do you go from here, both in terms of value, in terms of what your acquisition strategy looks like? Because what people have had to do in the past when they're selling software like this is to build really, really large sales teams. And so that I guess is the question. But thank you for sharing this, and it's a very cool company you have there.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Just a quick response in terms of the go-to-market. We are completely online, and we plan to build onto that. We'll be able to, given the Indian market size, 20,000 plus is not a big deal, but the question is, how do you grow beyond that, as you rightly mentioned? And also in terms of showing value to individual clinics, we are building web dashboards to show them analytics in terms of how this follow-up rate is actually adding value to their revenues. So very, very relevant points. Thank you for your feedback. We'll continue building on those things.
Great.
Thank you. Good luck.
Great pitches by startups and very insightful feedback from eminent panelists. Now I would like to request Dr. Ajit Singh sir to share a quick summary from his perspective on this session. Ajit sir, please.
Are you happy to do it? I want to be respectful to the time allocation. Tell me exactly how many minutes do I have, so I'll work accordingly.
So 2 to 3 minutes would do like.
Perfect. Good. So look, first of all great presentations. Healthcare is difficult, not an easy field to go into. And 2-minute format is even more difficult. 3-minute format is really, really difficult. So all of you did a fantastic job. So I'm not going to focus on the praise. I'm going to focus on what could have been improved. So number one, and I'm sure these are issues you are thinking about. They probably didn't show up on the slides, but since I didn't see them, I'm seeing it from that lens. Number one, competition. You've got to really highlight where the competitive issues are. None of the topics, none of the 5 presentations is in a totally new area. There is, for example, I picked the Happy Minds, the first company. We are tracking about 800 companies in that space. And they all have a very similar speech. I'm not saying you're not unique, you are, but you have to highlight where you're unique, and to yourself, not to me, but to yourself. That's what allows you to make your value proposition very compelling. Number two, how do you defend yourself? This will be copied. Every one of these 5 ideas, to the extent it's unique, will be copied, because it's a land grab. There's no defendable patent that you can go with. There's no real secret sauce. So how will you defend? That's point number 2. Point number 3, every project doesn't become a product. Every product doesn't become a business. And every business is not a venture fundable business. For yourself, what are you? Are you a project? Are you a product? Are you a company? And if you are a company, is it a lifestyle company? Is it a venture-backed company, venture-backable company? Point number 5, what are the rate limiting factors? The successes, the areas where you'll succeed, they come easy to you because you're very passionate about it. Where will you fail is much more important. So singular mind, focus on what are the rate limiting factors. Where are you likely to fail? And finally, the whole issue of adoption, I think I made this point in the context of one of the companies. All of this ties together. How do you pull in the customer? What's the cost of customer acquisition? And how do you make sure there is stickiness? It doesn't have to be an app for it to be sticky. Each of these 5 businesses will deal with the stickiness problem. So those are the 5 areas that I see that somehow deserve focus. Divayu, can I get 1 more minute?
Sure, sir. Within it be.
Okay. So I'd like to make 1 odd point in each of the companies which sticks out to me. So Shashwat, in your case, for Happy Mind, as I said, there are about 800 companies that we are tracking. The point that BV you made about root cause, it so turns out that root cause comes very late in the cycle. Root cause is never happening in the beginning. It takes 90% of the task is root cause analysis, but you have to give the tools to your patient long before that. Okay. So the triaging mechanism, you have to think through very clearly. And I think what you need to clarify to yourself is, are you solving an access problem or are you solving an efficiency problem? Are you solving the problem of efficiency of connecting or are you solving an access problem? They're 2 very, very different problems. And it has to be, it seems from your presentation, you're trying to solve both. It's not entirely clear to me, but I think you're trying to solve both and that will not work. You have to pin on one issue, which problem you're trying to solve. Second, Indian context, language is critical. And there's a lot of work done on linguistics, how it ties to the whole issue of depression and anxiety. Trying to reach the English speaking population is great, but that's not where the problem is. That's not where the problem is. For those people, there's ample access, especially if you're trying to solve the access problem. Coming to Mediport, please look up a company called OneMed that have really looked at this whole issue of how to make the report tangible and very customizable. There's a book by Tom Grogan called Chasing the Invisible. The entire book is on how to make the report relevant. So you gotta go check that out. Medifly, again, check out OneMed. And the question again is are you solving for access? Are you solving for convenience? Are you solving for quality? You cannot solve for all 3. I repeat, you cannot solve for all 3. You have to solve for 1, maximum 2. And it's not clear what you're solving for. On IMUMs, nothing specific for me to add. I think I already made the point earlier since I spoke to you. And also for OPD Lift, I think Ajay has already made very, very critical points, nothing to add.
Thank you so much, Ajit sir, for the great summary of the event. I believe all the panelists, all the startups could have gotten some great pointers out of it. I would really like to thank all the panelists for taking all the time to give the feedback and suggestions on the startup we're pitching. That would be really come handy while going forward. Personally, I would also like to thank BV Jagdish sir, who spared out the 1 hour for the event. He just joined for this particular Future Ventures event because he loved interacting with the startups, basically. Thank you, BV Jagdish sir, for joining on just such a short notice. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Tirgayu. Amazing session with great ideas from all startups. Very constructive feedback from panelists. We wish you the best. I now invite Professor Sushant Kumar Srivatsava, Head of Department, Pharmaceutical Engineering and Technology, IIT BHU, who has 25 years of research experience in drug design and synthetic medicinal chemistry, to add closing note on future ventures. Over to you, sir. Sir, you there? Are you there?
He was having some problem with his mic. I just checked with him. I think he's just relogging.
Okay. Yeah.
Just let's wait for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, sure.
Rajiv and Dirgayu, if you can go on mute, please.
Yes, in the meantime, if you can make us, show us some pictures.
My suggestion to everybody
is
that we can come back to Professor Srivastav. We are really running short of time. I really apologize. I have to butt in as the chief organizer to move on, please. We'll come back to Professor Srivastav.
And I can also just wanted to announce a $1,000 grant to each of the startup that presented on behalf of AWS. So
fantastic. Thank you so much, Rahul. Thank you so much.
That's really amazing. Thank you, sir.
That's great, Rahul.
So let's let's move on. Yes, sir. So our next event is Future Now: How India Can Become Vaccine Capital. With 160 global patents and more than 4 billion vaccines delivered globally, Bharat Biotech is currently developing India's first indigenous COVID-19 vaccine. Bharat Biotech is leading innovation to safeguard global public health. I now invite Dr. Rachasella, Head of Business Development Advocacy, Project Lead for SARS-CoV-2 vaccine, to talk about how India can become vaccine capital. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good morning, Kirti, and thank you very much, IIT BHU, to invite me. I'm truly honored to be part of this webinar on the future of healthcare. And in my coming slides, I'll try to explain to the best possible extent as to how Bharat is changing the vaccine landscape and how we're going to innovate further, and how India as a whole is going to be a vaccine superpower. Kirti, could you just kindly confirm if you can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Great, I'll proceed. So thanks a lot, everyone, for having me again. It's truly an honor to be part of this webinar. Being the precursor speech to Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, who's a very good family friend of mine, it's intimidating, but it's a humbling experience as well. So thank you for having me. My name is Rachel Sala. I head business development and advocacy at Bharat Biotech. And for the last 7 months or so, I've been also the project lead for our SARS-CoV-2 vaccines. Before I get into how India is going to become a vaccine superpower, I would just like to give you a brief update on what Bharat Biotech is all about. We're a vaccine manufacturing company based in Hyderabad, India. We're quite young for a vaccine company. We're around 25 years old. We boast about 16 different licensed vaccines. These are ranging from the pediatric to the adult cohort, geriatric as well. And we also have a few products in the biotherapeutic segment as well. All these products, just to give you some context, vaccines is, it's not a generic mind space. You can't make vaccines based on a generic approach. Each vaccine takes a minimum of 4 to 5 years to develop, an average of 10 years, a maximum of 20 years. So there's a lot of lead time towards making vaccines. As with regards to our R&D pipeline, as I head business development, this is always my favorite slide to display. We're a very innovative company. We're very R&D centric rather than manufacturing centric. We're working on various, I think 4 SARS-CoV-2 vaccines as we speak. One of which is in phase 2 clinical trials, which is called Covaxin. I'm sure you've heard in the media. We've also developed novel chikungunya and Zika vaccines by ourselves with our own R&D facilities. And we're also in late stage clinical development of various other cholera, non-typhoidal salmonella vaccines as well. So as we do our own R&D, we are also focused on doing our own clinical development. To date, we've done around 80 different human clinical trials spanning across 18 or so countries in around 100,000 adults, 600,000 volunteers, 500,000 newborn infants. It's a quite daunting task. We've done these trials all across the world, spanning from India to the UK, various countries in the African region, and as well as the US. To date, we supplied around 4 billion doses cumulatively over the last 20 years, and we plan to expand our territory markets as we move along. We are investing heavily in our manufacturing facilities to enter European and American markets as well. And as mentioned to you before, we're very R&D centric. We filed 427 patents, 140 of them have been granted. The first place we go to file our patent is China or America. That's how serious we are about our patents, and that's how seriously we uphold intellectual property right, not only of our IPR, but we also respect other manufacturing companies' IPR as well. And the vaccine landscape, it's nearly impossible to do it unilaterally. Collaborations are a must for any scientific project. Any pharmaceutical or vaccine project, collaborations is key. For various vaccines, we've partnered with several of these institutions highlighted on this display. So coming to the question of, is vaccine a super powerhouse? I mean, to give you a one-word answer, I would say yes, definitely we are. We have several leading vaccine companies in India. My colleagues from Pune Serum Institute, my colleagues from Hyderabad itself, IIL and Biological Advance, and a few other companies in India have put us on the map. We've been there for the last 15 to 20 years, and we plan to take it forward. To give you some context on vaccines and the ROI you get out of, you probably would not have heard about this. In fact, I was stumbled upon it when I read this article 4 years back. The best ROI you get is in vaccine spending. For every $1 spent on a vaccine, there's $16 recouped in terms of saving with healthcare costs, lost wages, and productivity due to illness. And if you compare that to preschool education, public health infra, various other government bonds, you can see it exceedingly overpasses the ROIs on those platforms. And to give you a sense of the vaccine landscape globally, I've broken it down to our global markets. We basically look at 5 various segments in our markets. UNICEF, which is a subdivision of the WHO, which is primarily catered towards providing healthcare to maternal and child healthcare. They are the largest procurer of vaccines. They procure vaccines in LMICs, which is low and middle income countries. They also procure for middle income countries, which are called MICs. Central and South America have their own pooled procurement agency. And as well, there are standalone middle income countries that procure vaccines. And of course, there are the high income countries such as USA, Australia, and the EU and Japan. So that's how you broadly classify the vaccine market segment. There are 2 big organizations, it's not a conglomerate, it's mostly like an association of pharmaceutical companies. The first being IFPMA. To be blunt, these are both basically multinational corporations based in either Europe, Japan, or America. And they not only provide pharmaceutical products, but also vaccine products. And the second one is quite newly formed. I think it's been there for the last 15 years. It's called DCVMN, Developing Countries Vaccine Manufacturers Network. It comprises of 41 manufacturers from 14 countries and territories. And please note, these are territories and countries from the developing world. So all of us have come together to form our own association as well, because in the coming slides, I'll explain to you the importance of this association. In terms of market volume, it's 3.5 billion doses per annum of vaccines. 90% of these vaccines are given to children as part of routine care. 50% of all vaccines are sold in Southeast Asia and in Africa. And based on our metric is to vaccinate infants born every year. There are approximately 75 million children born every year. 27 million of those reside in India. And Bill Gates, who's a very proponent advocate of vaccine delivery and vaccine innovation, has also quoted recently that India's pharma industry will be the supplier of COVID-19 vaccines, as we were with other pediatric and geriatric vaccines as well. So this definitely holds water, and we see good promise coming towards the future. But coming back to my point on stressing on DCVMN, which is this developing countries vaccine manufacturer network, over the last years, we've changed the landscape of vaccines. If you look at the orange bars and the orange segment in the pie chart, you'll witness the contribution of the DCVMN manufacturers to the UNICEF procurement agency. So as mentioned to you before, UNICEF and Gavi, both of these organizations put together procure around 1.5 billion doses in the last 4 years. And 60% of those vaccines have come from developing country vaccine manufacturers networks, not from the MNCs. So that's definitely our contribution across all these developing countries. But this statistic is in fact more striking. This is the regional procurement by manufacturing type. This is a little bit detailed to mention where is India's vaccine manufacturing contribution based on the region of the world. As you can see, in every region of the world, India seems to be playing an important part. In fact, in various regions such as Africa, Southeast Asia, the Western Pacific, primarily we are the biggest suppliers of vaccine to governments and national immunization programs as well. But looking at this graph, one could say they're quite content with this. I'm not sure if you call it success. I'm in the vaccine industry, and to be honest, I would like to change this landscape even further. I feel there is a tremendous scope for improvement, and we're on our way there. It's just a matter of time. The reason why I'm a little pessimistic is because of this slide over here, which represents the vaccine-specific split. And as you can see here, the blue bars mention, the blue horizontal bars mention the DCVMN contribution, and the orange bars represent the IFPMA contribution, which is the Western manufacturers. And as you can see here, one could probably argue that they're quite content with India's and the developing country vaccine manufacturers' contribution. However, the blue bars I've highlighted, which is from our contribution, are vaccines that have been around for the last 15 to 20 years. We have a tough time innovating in India. We're trying to change that narrative. And with regards to these orange bars you see here, which is the contribution of the Western manufacturers, these are primarily newer generation vaccines that have been out there for the last 5 to 10 years. So I would say quite bluntly, our goal would be to make all of this blue. So how do we improve from here? We have a good platform we're on. We're already supplying 60% of the world's vaccine. How do we make that 60, 70, 80, 90? So as mentioned before, vaccine innovation and vaccine delivery requires a multifaceted approach. It's not only one vaccine company or a few vaccine companies can do it on their own. We require a lot of partnerships with public and private academia, national regulatories. We need to also help in increasing disease awareness. And there also needs to be some kind of push-pull funding mechanisms for not only the universities, but startup spin-off companies that try to work on vaccines, and as well large-scale manufacturers such as Bharat. So it's quite a complicated field right now, but I think there's scope for improvement. And in view of COVID, I feel things might change. I'm being very optimistic here, though. And this was quite interesting to me. I mean, this is from IISc, the Indian Institute of Science from Bangalore, and they started a spin-off company called Minvax, which is developing a COVID-19 vaccine. And they've recently applied for funding from BIRAC, which is a funding agency under the Department of Biotechnology to develop their vaccine. And I feel we need to be hearing more and more of these stories like that. Of course, will Minvax be able to supply the volumes they need? No, not necessarily. But if they can at least develop their vaccine to a certain scale and then hand it over to a large-scale manufacturer, I feel that is the way to go. I feel these kind of companies should spin off from academia, and there should be a intertwined development process with academia and large-scale manufacturers. And another important point for innovating and being a powerhouse in vaccines is building internal disease burden data. India has been a country which, quite frankly, have been quite poor with disease burden data, epidemiological studies. We need to improve on that. We need to understand how much of COVID-19 is really out there, how much of dengue is spreading every year on a seasonality. I'm sure you hear about hospital wards being filled with dengue and chikungunya and malaria during certain months of the year, but these things are never tabulated. These things are never written as publications or reports. And for that reason, we never really have concrete information. And without having this information, it doesn't percolate. It doesn't lead us to developing a vaccine for it. So I think there's a huge stress on disease burden, and I feel things could change in this current landscape. Another startling statistic I have to show here is the Ministry of Health's healthcare budget. This is quite a dated slide. I apologize for it. I wasn't able to get some recent data. But over the years, you could see that the healthcare budget has been increasing slightly. The sky blue vertical bars are suggesting that. However, the darker blue bars, 1.3%, 1.4, hovers around that 1.5%, is the immunization budget. So that has remained stagnant, even though the number of children being born in India is higher, the number of diseases that are transmitting are higher. That immunization budget has been fairly stagnant for the last decade. So one proponent for us being a superpower house is that this budget needs to increase. If this budget increases, this will help vaccine manufacturers take on more risk, because we'll have a much better domestic market to cater to, which will allow us to take that risk in R&D and develop newer vaccines. And potentially it'll not only benefit India, but the rest of the world as well. Now I'll pivot back to Bharat Biotech because it's not fair on my part to talk about other vaccine manufacturers. I'd like to spend a couple of slides on what we've done in the past. We spent 20 years working on an oral rotavirus vaccine. Rotavirus is a disease which causes diarrhea in children of the ages 0 to 5 years of age. It's accounted for around 500,000 deaths worldwide and about 150,000 deaths in India annually. And we were the third company in the world to develop a rotavirus vaccine in collaboration with 16 various organizations. This is an example of the first social innovation project that is stemmed towards developing a vaccine. This whole process involved around 65 PhDs, 500 employees on various parts of these organizations, and a 20-year process. And with tremendous funding from not only the Ministry of Health, Government of India, but also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we were successfully able to license this vaccine in 2015. And it's now being given to every child born in India. So this is, I would say, one of the first first success stories, I would say, for a vaccine being born in India. Pivoting to COVID-19, we're taking this very seriously. We're an R&D centric company and we don't believe in contract manufacturing. There are advantages in licensing various MNCs vaccines and bringing it to India and supplying it for large volumes. But we take pride in our prowess to innovate at Bharat Biotech. And for those reasons, we've taken a separate approach to develop our own vaccines. Of course, these are in collaboration with various organizations. ICMR, the Indian Council of Medical Research, is one of them. And just how reports are there in the media and epidemiologists are saying there could be waves of COVID-19 vaccines. People are suggesting there is a second wave of COVID-19 vaccines in Europe. As vaccine manufacturers, we hypothesize there could be multiple waves of vaccines. That meaning there'll be a first generation COVID-19 vaccine and a second and a third generation of COVID-19 vaccine. I'm not trying to sound pessimistic by saying COVID-19 could be here for some time, but I'm trying to be as real as possible. It is a real concern, and we must do our utmost best to mitigate this pandemic at once. And we're taking that very seriously with various generation of vaccines. With vaccine wave 1 is Covaxin in collaboration with ICMR. And as the vaccine candidates continue in our second and third waves, we add on to the advantages of our ICMR vaccine, and we try to increase the scale, increase the immune response, better the safety profile. We do various other things to improve the vaccine. Therefore, with all these strategies coming into place, we're quite optimistic that we'll be able to curb this pandemic within a few years. Covaxin is a great moment for Bharat and the rest of the country, for India as well. It's the first indigenously developed COVID-19 vaccine. We've not tied up with any MNC or university abroad to do this. It's purely with our promoters and Dr. Balram Bhargav's vision to develop a Atmanirbhar COVID-19 vaccine. We embarked on this project about 6 months ago, and the progress has been great so far. We've been working hammer and tongs, night and day, and I feel none of my colleagues at ICMR, at Bharat, and the Indian regulatory have even taken a holiday for the last 6 months, not even a weekend. Since April, we've completed preclinical toxicology studies. We've done monkey and hamster studies. We're the only vaccine to have done both of these studies. We've completed our phase 1 clinical trials. Our phase 2 human clinical trials is ongoing. And once, based on the outcome of our phase 2 clinical trials, we'll then move to our phase 3 clinical trials. We're the only company to have done a non-human primate challenge study. I don't want to get too scientific with you, but I'll just tell you that this is the first study ever done in India. We've taken 20 monkeys, we've vaccinated them with Covaxin, and 2 weeks later, we've actually challenged them, meaning we've given them live COVID into their nose and into their trachea, into their windpipe, to see if the vaccine is conferring protection. And alas, we were lucky and fortunate enough to develop a good, efficacious vaccine. All the monkeys were saved after they were challenged with COVID-19. With a very similar design, we did this in 40 hamsters, and we also noticed similar outcomes. And this was the first time India has ever
Excuse me,
done...
Dr. Rachasendas, very sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We are running way behind schedule. Can you please summarize it as soon as possible?
Yes, I'm coming to the
Thanks
end.
in advance for your understanding.
It would have been great to have started on time, but I'm coming to the end. Thank you, Kirti.
Thank you so much.
Coming back to what we've done with typhoid, as you know, there's a lot of typhoid circulating in India, and Pakistan is, in fact, were able to detect extensively drug-resistant typhoid. We were able to successfully develop the world's first typhoid conjugate vaccine as well. It was successfully pre-qualified. We've done human challenge studies in Oxford University. You probably have heard of this human challenge concept. We were the first ones to do it in Oxford University. Similarly, the WHO and the Gates Foundation were able to license this vaccine for international availability. And the buck doesn't stop there. We're continuously evaluating this vaccine in several continents and trying to understand how well is this vaccine working. With regards to Zika virus vaccine as well, we were the first ones to file a patent. We were the first ones to procure the virus even before the Brazil outbreak, the Rio Olympic Games outbreak even took place. So I'm just owing to show that we stress heavily on our innovation. And I feel that's the only one way where we can become a vaccine superpower. It's only by innovating and beating the Western competition. And just showing you this last slide, the only way is to improve based on our academic and industry collaborations. As you can see here, the red boxes highlight the collaborations we've had with Indian organizations, be it government organizations or universities. Our goal should be together. We should try to make all of these organizations you see here totally Indian, and we should have domestic collaborations, more domestic collaborations rather than international collaborations. That's what I plan to stress here on. To summarize, India is already a vaccine superpower, rest assured, but there's tremendous scope of improvement. Not trying to sound like a pessimist, but in view of COVID-19, Western manufacturers and the Chinese have overpassed us and were quite slow to react. There is an impetus on newer vaccines rather than the generic vaccines. And the ultimate goal should be eradication of diseases, not demand forecasts not supply chain scenarios or not other MNCs. That's what we're trying to fight here, diseases. Public-private partnerships domestically is key. Manufacturing scales do exist in India. I've mentioned some fabulous companies based out of India that have the capacity to supply the world, not only India. That exists. And we just need to keep innovating, keep making new vaccines in this country with Indian support. With that, I would like to thank you for your time. And I'll be happy to answer any questions via email or post this conference. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ella. Thanks for understanding. And we're sure that Bharat Biotech, along with you, will take India to new heights in pharma industry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, okay, let me ask you this question now. Can you be an engineer, lawyer, scientist at the same time? Yes, you can be. And this distinguished alumnus of IIT BHU and today's chief guest is a classic example. Wondering who that is? He holds bachelor degree in mechanical engineering and law, master's in aeronautical engineering, PhD from IIT Bombay. He's the chief designer of India's light combat aircraft Tejas program and president of aeronautical industry. He was awarded Padma Shri in 2002 and Lifetime Achievement Award in 2007. I now cordially invite our chief guest, Chairman of the Board of Governors, IIT BHU, Padma Shri Dr. Kota Harinarayana for keynote address. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are not audible. Yeah.
Dr. Harinarayan, kindly unmute yourself.
He is unmuted.
Not able to hear you, sir.
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
There must be another function key on the top, on the keyboard of your laptop, which might be on. You may have to switch it off.
In the upper right corner, if you see, you would find the speaker sign.
I think there's a technical challenge because I can see him as unmuted, but the voice is not coming through.
Can somebody call him on the phone and help him while we continue, and maybe he can come later?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
He can log out and then log in. It will work.
Yeah, let's continue.
Let's continue and get him in later. Somebody will have to just explain to him.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, really, that'd be really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Apologies, sir, for this. We are moving on to the next event. So our next event is Future Speak. We have diversified panelists across health management, private healthcare, and health tech. This event will be moderated by Dr. Ajit Singh, 1985 IIT BHU alumnus, Managing Director of Artiman Ventures, Adjunct Professor in School of Medicine, Stanford University, and Board Member in Max Healthcare. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kirti. Since we're running way behind schedule, I'm going to try and keep the introductions to very, very minimal. When it comes to Indu Bhushan, Sangeeta Reddy, and Rahul Sharma, if I'm to say they require no introduction, then I should stick to that rule. They require no introduction. They have tremendous, a wide range of experiences and accomplishments. And I think what makes them truly unique for this audience is their sheer breadth of experience, their sheer breadth of exposure, the transdisciplinarity that goes into crafting the kind of topics that we are talking about. That transdisciplinarity is going to be very, very critical, and that's what makes the session very exceptional. So Dr. Indu Bhushan, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, Rahul Sharma, welcome to you all. As you know already, the format is we're going to go approximately 7 minutes each presentation, followed by a free-formed conversation that I'll be moderating. So without further ado, Dr. Indubhushan, I'd like to invite you to open our session.
Thank you very much, Ajit, and thank you very much for inviting me to this session, back to be among friends and co-IIT BHUites. In my 7 minutes, I'll just going to be sharing with you the current status of health sector in India and what the government is doing to improve the situation. Many of these things were planned before COVID, and with COVID, of course, has given an impetus, further impetus, and we are going to be seeing some new things coming on board. And I'll just try to whet your appetite, and maybe during the question and answers, I can come back and provide you some more details. I'm just sharing my screen here. See if it works. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can someone? Okay, all right.
Yes, very much visible.
All right. So starting with the status of health sector in India, and of course, there are many things that we can be proud of, and you can say glass is half full. And but of course, there is a way to go, and I'll focus on areas where probably we need to do more and some challenges that we have. If you look at this slide, which shows improvement in life expectancy at birth between 1990 and 2016, which is fairly recent. And the thick orange line is India. And you can see that in 1990, we were about 59, 58, 59 years life expectancy. Now we are more than 65. So in 25 years time, there has been a significant increase in life expectancy. But other thing that you'll see is that there are many other countries who have done much better than India. And one particular country I like to pick up is Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is the blue line, the blue thin line just above India. And in 1990, Bangladesh and India were at the same level. Now the difference has slightly, you see, we are diverged. Bangladesh, much poorer country in terms of per capita income, has done much better. So obviously, while we've done well, we could have done much better, and we should be looking to do better. Another slide I want to share is about out-of-pocket expenditure and how much we spend. The previous speaker had shown that our health expenditure actually has been increasing. But if you look at the percentage of GDP that we spend, that has not been increasing. That has been consistently around 1.2 to 1.3% of GDP. And that is what we are representing here on x-axis. So this graph represents actually 2 or 3 things. One, that countries who are spending more, their out-of-pocket expenditure is much lower. Out-of-pocket expenditure is the expenditure, proportion of expenditure that families have to spend out of their pocket for on health. So if you look at, say, Thailand, for example, only about less than 20% of the expenditure is out-of-pocket expenditure. In India, it's more than 60%, about 2/3. Of course, it has a lot of implications, both on efficiency and equity. It's much more punishing for poor people who don't have resources to spend. And also, when you have to spend out of pocket, you tend to delay treatment, and that also has implications for efficiency of expenditure. And if you look at India, there aren't many countries which are below India. Like, so India is one of the countries, one of the maybe out of 200 countries, India's number will be about 10th from bottom in terms of public expenditure. And that is showing in also high out-of-pocket expenditure. And in India, large number of people, and some studies say close to about 6 million people fall into poverty, 60 million people fall into poverty every year because of expenditure on health. So that's another issue with the Indian health sector. Other thing that we are seeing all over the world, but also in India, is that there is a what we call epidemiological transition. Our burden of disease is changing, which was earlier dominated largely by communicable diseases to non-communicable diseases. So if you compare the disease pattern in 1990 to 2016, you'll find that in 1990, top 5 diseases were communicable diseases like diarrhea, respiratory infection, and others. Now, if you look at the pattern of diseases, these are non-communicable diseases, and they are much more difficult to treat. In many cases, you have to provide lifelong treatment for those, and they need to be treated through more lifestyle changes in many cases, which is actually much more difficult, much more expensive, and much more long term. So it has implications for cost in the long run. And now it's not only that only the rich part of the population, but also the poor part of the population is experiencing this, not only in urban areas. We are seeing that in rural areas also, there is a dominance of non-communicable diseases. Third thing is about the quality of infrastructure and quality of services being provided. And this was a very recent study which has shown that there are about 2.4 million Indians who die because of treatable conditions every year. And this is the actually in terms of comparison with other countries, we are not doing very well. But one thing came out of the study was that there was a 1.6 million Indians who died because of not because of the lack of services, but because of poor quality of services. And if you see this graph, which compares India with the neighboring countries, you'll find that large number of people, the green part, have died because of the poor quality of services. About 800,000 people have died because of non-utilization of services. So in many cases, actually not having services could be much better than providing bad quality services, because I think that hastens in some cases worsens the health conditions. Now, so just to summarize, we have a high increasing burden of disease from non-communicable diseases. We are aging fast. That is also has implications for the kind of diseases we have. In terms of health expenditure, we have low government spending. We have inequitable distribution of health services. We are much better off in urban areas, in southern states and metropolis. We look at the doctors, availability of services in tier 2, tier 3 cities, rural areas, we are much worse off. Affordability, there's a high out-of-pocket expenditure, which has implications for equity in the country. Also, evolving and new technologies are increasing the cost. And lastly, there is a challenge of regulating the private sector and regulating and improving quality in public sector. So quality, while we can boast or we can be proud of a lot of very high quality hospitals in the country, but at the same time, when you look at, there's a huge variance, and you will find hospitals all over the country which are marked by low quality of provision. Now, what are we doing to improve all this? There are large number of things which are in place. Couple of things that we are looking after directly. One is Ayushman Bharat, and Ayushman Bharat has two legs. One is the establishment of 150,000 health and wellness centers, which will strengthen primary and promotive healthcare. And the second is the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is supporting more than 500 million people for secondary and tertiary care, and providing them up to 5,500,000 rupees for any disease or any health condition that requires hospitalization. There is a huge emphasis on improving medical education. Earlier structure of MCI has been now transformed into National Medical Commission. A lot of flexibility, a lot of innovations have been introduced to give a huge push to medical education. Recently, Honorable Prime Minister launched National Digital Health Mission. I'll come to that quickly and share with you that what it means and what it implies for the health sector. There is definitely a push towards increasing government spending, and we are committed to increasing health sector spending to 2.5% of GDP from current 1.2%. Again, there is a focus on increasing our support for disease surveillance and control. and this is coming directly from COVID. And there's a very strong, investment going into improving surveillance system. And finally, lot of emphasis on public-private partnerships, including the presentation that we saw on vaccines, but not only vaccines, but provision of services, hemodialysis, and many other areas where we are seeking partnership with private sector, recognizing that we can learn a lot from you. Just a couple of minutes on National Digital Health Mission and what it is. Actually, I can come back to it later, but this is to establish state-of-the-art digital health system and managing health system through digital health. We intend to improve the quality of health data collection, storage, and sharing, and improve we want to establish a platform for interoperable system for health care data. We are in the process of establishing several health registries, registries of doctors, other healthcare staff, healthcare providers, healthcare facilities, not only hospitals, but labs, diagnostic centers. And we are going to be creating registries of implants and drugs and many other areas that those registries will help in terms of improving data and also connecting the health sector and providing a more integrated management opportunities. And through this, we hope to improve the provision of quality services. We hope to improve monitoring of our schemes and have more evidence-based policy making. And finally, just to a snapshot that right now we have put in place and rolled out this mission in 6 UTs, where we have started creating unique health IDs. We have started creating doctors registry that we call DigiDoctor. We have started health facility registry, where we are registering all different kind of health facilities. And we've started creating personal health records, which are linked to health ID and are linked to a consent manager, where individuals can share their personal health record with any provider based on consent, based on informed consent. We have started also working on telemedicine, and have been working with the private sector Swasth group for telemedicine. And we are also inviting expression of interest from other groups if they want to work with us on telemedicine. E-pharmacy, we are still waiting for regulations to be cleared, and then based on that, we'll start work on that. In the closing, I want to just say that the health sector is really poised to take off right now. And you would see that maybe I was always saying earlier that, health sector, when you look at health sector later, sometime you would always say health sector before and after Ayushman Bharat. Probably now it will be health sector in India before and after COVID pandemic. And you'll find that after COVID pandemic, health sector is remarkably different and much better, I hope. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Indu. And for those of us from IIT BHU, and specifically those from EE, would remember Professor A.N. Tripathi, who in his systems engineering course always used to say that if EE will teach you one thing, it's the systems thinking, it's the ability to structure a problem correctly. And Indu, in your comments, which were very, very concise and yet covered a full 360-degree view, that the ability to structure a problem, the systems approach was very, very visible. So thank you. I would like to leave you with one question, which we'll come to hopefully at the end if there's time, and I hope there'll be time. Very often the medical regulation lags technology development. And I think the technology landscape you outlined its sheer breadth is impressive, and I know much of it will get implemented. I would love to come back to how will medical regulation keep up with it, because that's going to be critical in being able to harness the benefit of this technology development. So, so thanks again, Indu. And Kirti has advised me that
Sir, Mr. Yeah, we'll go ahead with Sangeeta Reddy.
Momentarily out. Plan to be back, however, and I'm asked to request our chief guest and the chairman of Board of Governors, Padma Shri Dr. Koda Harirana, for the keynote address that we skipped earlier because of the technical issues with sound. So, Dr.
Hello.
Harirana.
Hello, good morning to you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Loud and clear.
Oh, great, great. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate the Alumni Association for organizing this event with a galaxy of eminent speakers on such a vital topic. And thanks to Nitin Malhotra for making me join you. And look forward to working closely with the Alumni Association in raising the IIT BHU's level to a higher level, and look forward with working with all of you. I just want to make 2-3 comments on this very important occasion. The recent pandemic has shown 2 important aspects: how unprepared we were, how dependent we were on imports for every simple item, even PPEs. Now, how our industry, there is a positive aspect. Our industry, our laboratories, our hospitals, they rose to the occasion and developed many things in a record time. Many items like PPEs, we are second largest producer, ventilators, test kits, vaccines, and many other requirements. So while there was a challenge, we also were able to rise to the occasion and challenge. So this is an important thing for us, and we have to see how to move forward. I think the previous speaker talked about adopting digital technologies for making the healthcare to reach every nook and part of the country. This is possible only by utilizing digital technology. This is my understanding. Big data is a huge promise for healthcare. Data mining and analysis, identifying causes and illnesses, clinical decision support system, telemedicine is expanding, but this telemedicine by itself will not be able to solve the problem, because you need equipment for diagnosis, the diagnosis equipment. I want to leave a thought with all of you. Today, most of the diagnosis equipment, whether we are talking of digital X-rays or ECS or ultrasonics or MRIs, all are by and large imported. Unless you solve this problem of making them indigenous, making them affordable. My little experience in the last few years of developing things in indigenously has shown that we will be able to develop these things at a fraction of a cost, because we are a huge market, and that is a challenge which all of us have to take forward. Once we do that, then what happens? The digital devices will enable communication between physician, patient, secondary and tertiary care, enhancing the communication, making screening possible, and in a difficult to reach places. Today, our healthcare is not poor, it's abysmal. And that is what the previous speaker has brought out. That is because we are not able to bring the equipment at an affordable cost so that we can put it in all places. Telemedicine, all of them, the big data are useful, provided these equipment are available at all these primary, secondary, tertiary health centers. I have been in the aviation field where safety, reliability are very critical. In a health sector, you not only need safety and reliability, you need affordability. I thought if these 3 things are taken care, I have no reason why we will not be able to succeed. I look forward to the Alumni Association moving forward, bringing the industries, the startups, the faculty and the students together, because IIT BHU and the BHU are very well placed, whereby we have an excellent data, what you call center, analytic group, extremely good group. It is recognized in the whole country. That is a good group. And we also have a good and very good medical facility. We have a very good biotechnology and medical center, what you call medical engineering center. Need is for together and see that some of these devices are developed, startups take it up, and then link it up with the big industries. That's what I wanted to mention to you. And I look forward to the Alumni Association along with the faculty, students, working together and tackling this health for all in India. I don't want to take too much of your time because you are already hard pressed for time. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Dr. Haridana, that was fantastic. So all the content packed in one half of the time allocated to you, you're helping us get back to our time schedule without any loss of content. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So with this, we get back to...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
With that, we would like to get back to our original flow. And if I might invite Dr. Sangeeta Reddy to be the next speaker. Kirti, am I doing it right? Am I? Yes. No?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, Dr. Rajat.
Sangeeta,
Welcome, Dr.
always,
Sangeeta Reddy.
Sangeeta,
She's there.
always
She's there.
lovely to see you.
Welcome.
Always lovely to hear you.
Very good to see you,
wonderful to
Ajit.
have you on board.
Very good to see you, and very privileged to be among so many extremely academic, intelligent, and accomplished people, from youth like Rachis to happening initiatives like Dr. Indubhushan spoke about, and inspiring and appropriate advice from Dr. Kota. I think this has been a truly, well put together initiative. Just tell me how much time I have, and then I'll be brief. Are you still trying to do a Q&A? Okay, 7 minutes. So basically, I think the future of healthcare is right now, it's time for everyone interested in the healthcare services to fasten their seatbelts. The stage is set for a very quick journey. The first thing I'd like to say is that the onus of care, which was originally on maybe the general practitioner or a barefoot doctor, or then moved into larger hospitals because the high-end diagnostics and the whole onus shifted there. We're now seeing that care is moving from the hospital to the clinic, from the clinic to the home, and from the home to a 24/7 ubiquitous access to care, which is enabled by the mobile phone. But more importantly, the onus of healthcare is shifting to the individual. So not only are hospitals looking for more patient-centric care, but individuals are getting more educated, more aware, and more proactive about prevention, about understanding what is the medication, what is the dosage, what is the precursor to this illness, and therefore how do I prevent this scenario. And this entire shift or journey is being accelerated by the use of technology, whether it's virtual consults, you can stay at home and see your doctor. Your mobile phone is now almost a clinic. And during COVID, I think the range of teleconsults grew by almost 500 times. But besides the virtual visit is the second level of care, which is the remote care. And in remote care, I think that, whether it is devices, your ability to monitor your grandmother at home, for NRIs to be able to monitor what's happening to their parents and knowing that a doctor is also overseeing them, is the next level. And a range of devices we're working with. Actually, in the Apollo Telehealth team, we saw last week that we had analyzed 389 devices and chosen a few, maybe 10, 12 of them, but also created a platform layer or an integration so that from the hospital or the doctor's clinic or inside, you can link all this. The next, and I think extremely important point in this entire transition is the fact that with devices, with teleconsults, with so much data, with genomics and this connectivity, we are now being deluged by this huge amount of data. So the ability to take that data and meaningfully and significantly interpret that data. So typically healthcare providers or doctors or scientists took the data, analyzed and presented papers on trends, on efficacy, and Rachis, I was so happy to see him speak about it, but just, the whole analytics of how does this medicine work on a monkey? How does it work in trials? So the evolution of healthcare in terms of analyzing data, seeing the implications of use of a certain drug, were all done in a prospective manner. That is in a retrospective or reactive manner. Today, with real-time monitoring data and the new fantastic player in the game, artificial intelligence, we will take the knowledge of doctors, integrate it with the data that's being received, and proactively, real-time feed into the healthcare system. So these are the three shifts which are moving into what is the future of healthcare, which is extremely driven by digital. And machines will be built indigenously, their costs will come down, drug discovery will accelerate, there'll be more fantastic things like was spoken about Bharat Biotech and others. But the most important aspect of all this is, I think, that the entire nature of healthcare is shifting to truly being healthcare and not sick care. Because when we're looking proactively, rather than looking in the rear view mirror of what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 6 months ago, we're proactively saying, if you have these precursors, if you have these conditions, because of the hundreds and thousands of patients we've analyzed, we can look in the front and say, in 3 months and 6 months, this could happen to you, therefore prevent it today. So this is almost like a Google roadmap saying turn right, turn left. It's going to take you 6 months to do that. And there's traffic over here. That means that you're getting this cardiac block. Bypass this cardiac block and go a different route. That means reduce your weight, take your beta blockers, ensure you don't have the heart attack, and go smoothly down a new road. This is the fantastic shift which is happening. And for this, to enable this outstanding shift, which is being driven by biology, the genome, by bytes, which is analytics and data and AI, and by bandwidth, which is connectivity, so we can take this knowledge and this capability, not just in the advanced countries or the large cities of India, where tremendous care is happening and Indian ecosystems are creating care on par with the best in the world. But using bandwidth, we can take this to the last mile, to the smallest village, to the most untouched populations, and help them stay healthier. And that is really the most powerful thing which is happening. Because today in India, what is the most painful thing is that when you see a cardiac patient, you're opening up 3 vessels or 4 vessels, you're doing 3 bypasses, 6 bypasses. And the question that doctors are asking in their heart is, where was this patient when his first vessel got blocked? Why didn't we screen him? And the same is happening for cancer. We're seeing 62% of our cancer patients in stage 3 and stage 4. How can we find these people in stage 1 so that the cost to care is less, the pain of treatment is less, and most importantly, the mortality and the morbidity is lower? And these are the lessons being learned. These are the frameworks or the building blocks or the foundations which are happening, and Dr. Indubhushan said it the best in terms of the entire work of the government. And I think the time has come most beautifully for public and private to work together, for doctors and scientists and engineers to work together, and for people and medically enlightened institutions and society to work together, so that we build a healthier future. We break some of the earlier paradigms. For years and years and years, we said we need more doctors in India. Our current doctor ratio is under 2,000 per population. And everybody from government to private went ahead and put in more medical colleges, enhanced the number. But you know what? Today, we may not need 1,000 doctors per population, because the entire onus of care has shifted to individuals and society. The role doctors will play will be more proactive, more creative, more involved in primary prevention, or in on the treatment and prevention. So the parameters and the paradigms and the measurement indexes are all going to change in the next few years because of these new tools, and more importantly, the new tools, the new enlightenment. The true healthcare is proactive and preventive. And I think I have a minute or 2 left, so I'll quickly share with you how these thought processes can be applied into an ecosystem. And I'll talk about it in the current context of COVID. Ajit, just raise your hand when you want me to stop. In COVID, what we looked at was a 360-degree response to COVID at Apollo. So first we put out our app, So the app has almost, we had about 13 million downloads during this time period, but about 18 million people took the health risk scan for COVID. And through that, they were triaged. Who can stay at home? Who needs to take medicine? Whose oxygen saturation levels are dropping and need to move into a hospital? So the onus of the care or the monitoring came to the individual. We created two important initiatives, which was stay isolated at home, so home care with a telemedicine layer. And then we partnered with hotels like Oyo and Lemon Tree and said in India, people may not be able to isolate at home where 6 or 7 people stay in, one room, share a bathroom, or 2 rooms and share a bathroom. So we brought these low-cost staying, kind of infrastructures, put telemedicine on top of them and took care of patients. So in addition to the 2,100 beds that we added, these were high-end, almost 1,000 were ICU beds. We were able to add 5,000 other stay facilities and then opened up to the home. So this type of changing the paradigms, using innovation, having an underlying technology layer, and then comes the fantastic aspect of high-end care and research using the best in the world. So we spoke to international doctors, etc., put out a protocol. When do you use remdesivir? How do you use, the steroids? If you're using blood thinners, what are the things you have to be careful of so that you may prevent the clot, but you may also lead someone to a bleed in the brain. Where is the fine balance? And this was used not just in an Apollo Hospitals ecosystem, but we shared this with nursing homes, with others who were also treating patients. So knowledge using technology, tech-enabled training and healthcare. We trained almost 14 lakh people on COVID and then went on to create a ventilator training program using content, simulation, and a buddy system with the Critical Care Society of India. So there was a one-on-one mentoring for first-time users of ventilator. And the scale and the speed of this was all happening 2-3 months, real-time transformation. So this is why I said at the very beginning, the journey that healthcare is getting on now, you just need to fasten your seatbelts, keep your minds, your thoughts, your ears and eyes open, and always stay centered on keeping the patient healthy, and if they get sick, using every tool possible and every partnership possible to make them get better quickly and retain that data so that tomorrow you will enable hundreds and thousands of other patients to get better because of the knowledge and the introspection that happens into every clinical journey. So finally, my vision of a future of healthcare is accessible to all. We have universal care from village to city, from mountain to beach shore, everyone. My second thought for healthcare is that it's not just accessible, but it's affordable, that it's humane, patient-friendly, technology-driven. And finally, I think that India is going to play a very significant role on the global stage of healthcare, because we can, using teleservices, using our clinical capability, using our great training, our doctors and our nurses, a young India can help take care of a graying world. And this is, I think, most significantly what all of us are looking for. And finally, it's all about people, it's all about the heart, and it's about doing it together. So all the very best. Congratulations to all you fantastic people for putting this together. Namaste.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Every time I listen to you, what becomes very obvious to me is you take a very far-reaching vision and then you tie it down to some very, very specific practical problems, both in your own approach to your work and what you've achieved at Apollo. They are mirror images of each other. So thank you very much. Much the way I left Indu with a question, the question to him was, regulation almost always lags technology. The question I'm going to leave you with, hopefully we'll come back to them at the end, and I'll try to tie them together then. AI applications in healthcare, tremendous need given the whole issue of access and affordability in India. If you were to pick one problem that you would like to solve first, what problem will you pick? So I'll leave you with the question and hopefully we'll come back to the answers. Sure. And with that, I would like, thank you again, Sangeeta. And with that, I'd like to move to our last speaker in this session, Rahul Sharma from Amazon. And without any ado further, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajit. Namaskar and Pranam to all of you. professors who are here, Professor Dhar, Professor Tripathi ji. It's really great to be here. I think a lot has been said about technology already, and it's really heartening to see. But I think I just like to highlight and complement the work that is happening under NHA, Dr. Indubhushan, with with the National Digital Health Mission, and the way that it's really fast tracking the availability of healthcare right down to the masses. I think it's a brilliant vision. When you think about the way government has gone about creating national platforms, you've seen the impact Aadhaar has had, UPI has had, and the NDHM is going to be another big feather in the cap of how digital can be used in India for mass scale. I'm going to focus my attention on innovation and how we can make innovation work in this entire context. For us at AWS, innovation comes hand in hand with experimentation, and experimentation comes hand in hand with failure. So the entire impetus should be on, can we create this environment and ecosystem of experimentation and learn from it quickly. And I'll give you the example of Arogya Setu. During the pandemic start, there was a need for contact tracing, and the government really moved really fast. And in a matter of less than 2 weeks, a platform was created that scaled to more than 160 million people in India. And it's still today, the capabilities are being augmented, the Open API platform and the publishing of the status and interaction of how the lockdown ease could happen. And that just gives you one sense of how quickly technology can be used to bring scale. Cloud was a big factor in that. And the fact that cloud actually made this possible because you have capabilities that exist that you can very quickly bring to bear. When I think about even the work that we did on the national data platform for COVID in Telangana, we came together and integrated 100 different data sources. And again, this was done in a matter of weeks, where multiple data sources actually came together. And we published dashboards, real-time live dashboards around how to actually enable opening up, lockdown open up, the prediction of how and which specific areas there would be an effect on hospital resources, on economic activity. And these were models that were built very quickly. They were models that were built for India very quickly. And I think that's the whole power of technology that can be brought to bear. When you think about vaccination, there was so much discussion happening on COVID vaccination, and the fact that we need to be able to possibly do 2.6 billion rounds of vaccination in the next couple of years. If the assumption is that there need to be 2 rounds of vaccination coming up for every Indian citizen, and the kind of technology that is needed to be able to make that work, I think that's where cloud can play a really important part. And it's been shown already that with the national platforms that are being built on how successful they could be, this model can actually be used for not just India, but can scale from India to multiple countries that need this technology. In terms of speed, I just want to also mention Swasth. We've been working very closely with Swasth right from the time when the initial discussions were happening. And again, in a matter of very short time, we were able to come through together with Swasth and build an application that today is at the scale that it is. Even eSanjeevani, for that matter, with CDAC. eSanjeevani in CDAC was doing about 200 consultations per day. And suddenly in the lockdown, we realized that it needs to scale. So the government came across and asked for help. And we moved that to cloud, and it's now handling more than 6,000 teleconsultations. It's really, really heartening to see how quickly the mindset has changed and the way the technology is actually being used today. I think in this entire ecosystem, when you think about the availability of data, when you think about availability of technology, when you think about open data and the effect that open data can have on innovation, artificial intelligence and machine learning has a huge bearing on healthcare. And we talked about genomics. AWS actually made COVID genomic data available as a part of our open data initiative, and startups and innovative companies can gain access to this almost immediately and start innovation in a very quick manner. I think I just want to close the discussion on a couple of points. I think it's really important to be able to take this entire ecosystem of startups. We had some great startup presentations today, but the ability for them to be integrated into the overall vision of how the government wants to propagate healthcare, I think becomes really important. And I'd like to call upon, an initiative where we can have maybe the NHA come together with private, companies, and we are happy to support open innovation, like what's happened with Swasth. The ability for startups to be focused on large national programs, I think, becomes really, really important for this to be successful. The other last thing I want to say is the availability of skills becomes really important. We know that the amount of skills that are needed is in healthcare is going to be really huge over the next couple of years, and the way technology can be used for skilling. We've, for example, worked with the common service centers. We've got about 450,000 common service centers across India. The CSC has been doing digital literacy already for 60+ million people as a part of PMJ Disha initiative. I think those scalable mechanisms are needed to be able to get the right technology intervention for skilling people at the bottom of the pyramid. So I think when it comes to scale, my only call out is that innovation is really important, and the ability to use technology to its fullest is really important to be able to make things work at scale in India that has an impact across the board. Back to you, Dr. Ajit. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Rahul, thank you very much for compressing the time and yet delivering your content. So now between Kirti and I have been texting a bit, and the goal is to do the Q&A in less than 3 minutes. So I'm going to open, give a very quick 30-second point of view, and I'll ask each one of you to spend about a minute. So I think it's clear that if you were to solve the access and affordability issue, data will have to be critical, and somehow de-skilling of the whole task will have to be very critical. So if you think of a paradigm which is to plan virtually and deliver physically, plan centrally, deliver locally, this will be enabled with technology, this will be enabled with AI. However, two things will have to be done. Some bit of de-skilling. There's no reason some high-skilled people need to deliver at the local level. It can be de-skilled. And second, the applications will have to be selected such that regulation doesn't get in the way initially. Over time, regulation will catch up. So those are the two sort of time factors. And if I could ask Indu and Sangeeta and Rahul for you to all come in for about a minute each on that, that'll be great.
Thank you, Ajit. I tend to a little bit disagree with you, Ajit, in terms of regulations. My own opinion is that in India, we have regulations, and it's not the regulations which are keeping us back, but the implementation of regulations that has been a problem we've seen all over. For example, we have CEA, Clinical Establishment Act, and which is actually an extremely well-designed act which can govern private sector. But the implementation of CEA actually has been languishing for last several years. So I think the whole sector is full of such regulations and acts which have not been fully implemented or effectively implemented. And when it comes to technology, you're right, that of course ability for us to see the future and be able to provide those kind of regulations and checks and balances is important. But I think we should take it maybe in a more positive way. Since we don't have regulations, we have a free reign, and we should be that should spur creativity and innovation. But that also doesn't happen. And I just give you the last example of National Digital Health Mission. Right now, we don't have any act for data privacy. There is a bill in Parliament, Personal Data Protection Bill, which has been under discussion for a long time. And hopefully, we're hoping that in the next 2 or 3 months, next session of Parliament, it will be passed. So we don't have any act which will govern personal data. And since we are now dealing with a large amount of personal data in the mission, we are now preparing a policy. We have actually prepared a policy, and which is on our website, and we sought comments from everyone. We got about 7,000 comments on that policy, and we are revising it and putting it up. And it's based on the draft bill, which is with the Parliament. And we are hoping that will help in terms of implementing it. Similarly, we don't have any regulation on e-pharmacy, and that has been a problem, and that's constraining our work on developing e-pharmacy module. And it was lucky that because of COVID, the regulations of telemedicine, which were stuck for a long time, came through. But still, those regulations which have been released by the ministry also needs support from NMC, which has been established only recently. So again, my own sense is that we have right now too many regulations, and if we don't have regulations, like you mentioned, for some of these things, probably that's a good thing. We can just pursue many ideas which are not constrained by any regulation, right?
Fantastic. Thank you, Indu. Moving on to Sangeeta. And if you could pick up the question on what would be the one application you'll implement first for mass scale use of AI in solving the problems you have in mind.
It's very difficult in a place like healthcare to be asked to choose one thing, Ajit, but I think right now, considering the extent, the scale, and the impact of the virus, I would actually use AI-enabled models to pick the most vulnerable for the first wave of use of the vaccine. And to
wow. Practical, clear, fantastic. Thank you.
But I think that the good part about it is that one, like Dr. Indubhushan described in his thing, a fantastic wave is happening in terms of the government laying the building blocks for digital healthcare in India. And if we all come together, public and private, and use that for this alignment of vulnerability, applicability, and implementation of the vaccine drive, the same platforms, the same scale, and the same working models and framework of everyone coming together can then be moved into our entire thing of HPV vaccine for young women, for screening programs for cancer, for cardiac, for monitoring of blood pressure and diabetes. And I'll use the rest of my 1 minute very quickly to quote something that the editor of Lancet said, which I think is an outstanding piece. And that is that we are not in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a tridemic. The first being the epidemic of COVID, which all of us know about, which is exacerbated by the underlying epidemic of non-communicable disease. And on top of this is another epidemic, which is an infodemic, which is all kinds of information, whether it's true or validated, and a lot of information which needs to get organized. And if you put these three into the right framework, it can be an accelerator for positive health.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Sangeeta. And with that, I come to Rajiv for your, Rahul, I'm sorry, for your comments.
Sure, I'll just keep it very short. I think we have a tremendous opportunity with all that's happening, and what Dr. Sangeeta and Dr. Indubhushan said. I believe that India can take a generation leap on healthcare, and that's what we should aim for doing. And that's only possible by taking what's available today across the world, that is the best in class, and then building on top of it. I think that's the most important thing that we can do to be able to make sure that we actually take a generation leap. And this has to be done in hyper-local scenarios in India. And that's the capability and potential that we can make it happen. The way startups are coming together with local agencies, and the way that we can create these small centers of innovation when it comes to either genomics or AI machine learning, whether it comes to remote delivery of medicine, e-pharmacy, everything. I think that's the tremendous opportunity that exists today.
Thank you. Thank you to all, Indu, Sangeeta, Rahul. Fantastic comments. I hope we can have a follow-up at some point. I'll hand it back to Kirti now to carry us to the next topic.
All the best and namaste. See you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rajat, and thank you all the panelists. It's great listening to all of you. Thank you so much. I now invite Professor Sushant Kumar Srivatsa, Head of Department, Pharmaceutical Engineering and Technology, IIT BHU, to address the group. Over to you, sir.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yeah, you are. Welcome, sir.
Yeah. This is respected Dr. Kota Harinarayan, Chairman BOG, IIT BHU, Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, Vice Chancellor, Banaras Hindu University, and all the panelists of this startup mode, BV Jagdish ji, Anu Acharya ji, Dr. Ajit Singh ji, Dr. Ajay Nair, and Pritish Gupta ji, and all the alumni of this IIT BHU AIBA. This is a great time for me to give my closing remarks and share my views on the future of healthcare before distinguished luminaries of the pharmaceutical and healthcare professionals under the umbrella of AIBA. The startup presented by our bright students will be a new dimension in healthcare if using AI and machine learning. They can generate good data and may give a fascinating insights that have a tremendous value to healthcare verticals. The startup of precision medicines will also have a great value to save the lives of human beings, as 65% patient does not respond to the 5 selling drugs. Therefore, if the concept of the precision medicine is implemented, we can prevent the patients from the related toxicity of the drugs. The startup using the mobile apps with respect to the healthcare is going to more personalized than ever, and many IT companies are working very hard in this sector, and this is the high time to participate in the scientific competitive phase, and we have to useful scientific innovation through our R&D startups. Indeed, Government of India has initiated certain important measures to reduce the healthcare cost and ensuring the Indian population for better healthcare service without having much financial hardship. The Ayushman Bharat is expected to revolutionize the healthcare system in India. I wish to put my few observations with respect to the healthcare profession, which will be make more advanced healthcare system in India. We know that the Indian pharmaceutical sector is the second largest sector contributing to the Indian economy after IT, and stands third in volume and 13 in value. Why it is not stand first in value? Because they are much dependent on the China with respect to the APIs. 70 to 80% APIs are imported from the China, and only 20 to 30% APIs production in our hands. Maximum antibiotics are the fermentation products and imported from the China due to low cost and availability of the good supply chain management. Indian pharmaceutical industry is the generic drug industry and exporting formulation around 220 countries. 40% of generic drugs requirement of the US is covered by the Indian pharmaceutical company, but sometimes impurity in the imported APIs resulted heavy penalty to exported formulations. And we have seen the example of the Gentech that is withdrawn from the market, US market. And this is only due to the impurity in the API sectors. And how we can address this, specifically the API and bulk drug production, specifically in India. Yes, this is possible if we shift the research program from the downstream research to upstream research. Why the new drugs and biologicals would be invented in America and Europe and manufacturing will only be operationalized in India? The reason is only that ecosystem of the infrastructure of the R&D does not match with the ecosystem of the America and Europe. You will not believe that our institute does not have a very important instrument, that HRMS, that is required for the qualitative and quantitative analysis of the new protein. And this is not available even whole stretch of the across the Purvi Uttar Pradesh. It is not available from Varanasi to Gorakhpur anywhere. And the cost is of this instrument is around 3 crores. We have applied to the government agency, but unfortunately failed to get it. So this is my personal request to this all AIBA alumni, that they have to provide these instruments to our department for the upstream research to facilitate the industry. And specifically, I am telling to for the bulk drug production, if any regulation comes from the government of India, that the pharmaceutical, this academic institution would be the may integrate themselves with the commercial arms of the industry, then we can give some good products, good APIs as per the requirement and the standards of the industry. And since this Indian Pharmacy Academia is regularly providing the trained human resource to the industry, as we have abundance of the B Pharma, M Pharma and PhD students who serve the pharmaceutical sectors, I think this is the high time to integrate the academic research with the development of the commercial and business arms of the pharmaceutical sector. Only providing the trained pharmacy personnel will not solve the issue, rather than integration of the commercial activities of the drug development, of the new drug discovery and bulk drug production of the API to the educational institution. This is my submission that government should make a regulation in this regard so that Indian pharmaceutical academic institutions may give the at least in the pilot scale, the bulk drugs, APIs, and other pharmaceutical ingredients as per the requirement of the pharmaceutical industry. I thank you to all, and specifically the AIBA persons and Dr. Ajit Singh and my students for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for addressing concerns, sir, and I hope the department gets the right equipment as early as possible.
Thank you, Kirti.
We now move on to future notes. For this, I invite Mr. Rajiv Gupta, 1993 year IIT BHU alumnus, current president of AIBA, to introduce Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, Vice Chancellor BHU. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kirti. I think before I invite Professor Bhatnagar, I would be failing in my duty if I do not thank everybody who has put this event together. I think lots of efforts have happened. Sanjeev Nikor in the lead, Pramod Joshi, Thekkar Gunaseelan, all these students that you see here. It's amazing to see all of them having put everything together. The second thing that I wanted to say before I invite Professor Bhatnagar is that Dr. Reddy talked about the tridemic. I think what we are trying to do is to put up a triad of industry, academia, and students to build a new India so that we can actually bring in innovation, because there is a huge need for research, huge need for patents, huge need of knowledge to be emanating from our country, so that we can take the lead and become the Vishwa Guru that we are intending to become. Our endeavor is to bring close linkage between the various stakeholders so that they can work hand in hand, and future series is one of our endeavors to take it forward. I would like to also tell all our alumni who are present here that we are being excellently supported by IIT BHU. We have sectoral industry academia interface groups that are being created, where each sector will have participation of academia and industry so that there can be joint research, cross movement of people within industry and academia, enrichment of curriculum, etc. We also have our one milestone which has got achieved, which is the director IIT BHU agreeing to come in as a patron of the association as a ex officio member. So I would urge all the alumni to contribute to the association with their thoughts, and with the industry academia interface groups that will get formed in terms of research opportunities, etc., at the institute level. With these words, I would like to invite Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, who is an excellent academician, a brilliant vaccinologist, a great researcher. His team, I mean, I was really, sort of surprised to know the amount of achievements that Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar has done. His team came up with a vaccine long back for rabies, and he's the President of India Visitors Award for Innovation. He got it in 2016. He's of course Vice Chancellor of BHU, and he has served as a Dean of the School of Biotechnology at Jawaharlal Nehru University, a very passionate academician who's trying to build institutions so that they can contribute to nation building. Dr. Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar. Professor Bhatnagar, are you there?
unmute myself.
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon. Myself, Rakesh Bhatnagar. I started out as a basic medical scientist and was involved in developing vaccines, developing diagnostics, and creating technologies which are used in healthcare industry. And when we talk about the future of healthcare in India, we have to look at the past, how we have done in the last 72 years in the healthcare of this nation. Let me be very frank that our population has been increasing, and in the last 72 years, the population has grown something like 4 times. But the healthcare industry has grown a lot, but still there are many people who are not able to take advantage of healthcare. And I can share with you that there are a lot of people who are not able to get the proper health care, and they die because they are not able to afford the surgery, or they die because they are not able to afford the cancer treatment. Therefore, we have to look afresh. How should we take care of the health of the nation as a whole? And in my opinion, everything starts from home. The first thing is that we should teach our children to understand the basic hygiene. Quite often we have seen in this country that many children, they suffer from diarrhea and they die. And it is easily avoidable disease by knowing the basics of minimum hygiene standards, which perhaps our fellow countrymen do not know. Therefore, in my opinion, the charity begins from home. From home itself, the children have to be taught proper hygiene, and the hygiene should be integral part of our primary education and secondary education, so that many avoidable diseases can be avoided. In our country, there are 80% of the diseases are communicable diseases, and 80% of them are avoidable. But because of lack of knowledge, because of lack of information, people are not able to avoid. I still remember I saw a movie of Satyajit Ray. Some of you would have seen Ashwini Shonket. In that movie, a doctor came to the village and a lot of people were dying of cholera. And people believed that if you drink some prasad from the temple, it is the gift from God, and it is always going to be good. But they did not know that that prasad was made with some contaminated water which had infection of cholera, and people were dying, and the doctor had difficult time to explain people that they have to avoid consuming contaminated water. So this is the situation of our country, that particularly in villages, people are not knowledgeable enough to avoid the infection. So my suggestion to the nation would be that we should have some kind of a small, just like in engineering, you have a engineering degree, but then you have engineering diploma also. And I think Bangladesh has practiced that. They have a small degree of medicine which takes, I think, 2 or 3 years, and the person is trained to take care of the common ailments of the poor people. So if we have the good basic hygiene education at home, if we have basic hygiene education in the school, in the primary school, in the secondary school, and then we have some well-trained, let us say, diploma doctors, diploma holder doctors, just like diploma holder engineers, to take care of the small diseases, avoidable diseases, by knowing some common medicine and some common diseases to avoid, so that they can become something like a doctors in the village and the small cities. I think they can take care of the health care of the poor people. Now let us come to the next thing, that is taking care of the complicated diseases, the lifestyle diseases. See, in the cities we have seen that most of the people, they suffer with hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, etc. But most of these diseases are avoidable by even modulating our diet. But we don't do that. India is a country where people give more emphasis on taste rather than nutrition. I have practiced myself in my whole life to eat healthy food. I am a 69-year-old man, going to be 70 maybe after 8-9 months. I suffer with no disease, no hypertension, no diabetes, no problem with the heart, kidney, liver, lung, anything. I am not on any medicine regularly, unless I have some, let us say, allergies, so sometimes I may take some anti-allergies, but I am not on any regular medicine. And I could only do by having a very simple lifestyle, having simple food, nutritious food. For example, I take a couple of fruits and yogurt in the morning as my breakfast. I take simply 1 or 2 chapatis and dal and some green vegetables along with some salad during the lunch. And in the evening also I take one chapati and green vegetables. And I do not eat much spicy food. I take twice a week fish, which is a very good source of plenty of nutrition. And I am able to live healthy life without seeing the doctors. So we have to change our lifestyle. These days, even younger children, teenagers, they are eating more junk food than we used to eat, let us say, 30 or 40 years back. So we have to modify how we live our life. I have seen the young people are obese. When I try to measure my BMI index, I am still in the middle of normal weight, normal BMI. But if you meet the younger people, maybe in their teenage or in their early 20s, they are obese. They are not only overweight, they are obese. So all these things, result in all kinds of diseases. So in my opinion, first of all, our citizens have to be taught how to avoid avoidable diseases. And I tell you, if we are able to do that, the burden on the healthcare industry will be minimal. Where you cannot avoid a disease, certainly you have to go and see a doctor and you get treated. And secondly, our healthcare industry has to come forward and join hands with IITs, with ISCs, with central universities and university science departments, and have collaborative projects. I remember I have done such collaborative projects with the healthcare industry and transfer the technology to them easily. If we sit together, we understand their need and they understand what we can do. I think these bonds can help us to develop new products which can go to the healthcare industry. which has not happened in India quite often. In the university system, people work on, anything they would like to do. They give some research problem, student is able to do few experiments, he is able to publish, he or she is able to publish few papers, and then you send the thesis to two of your friends, they say it's very good, and you give PhD, and all this, is added to your biodata, and you become you get your promotion and you become a professor. This is not the way to do that. We have to understand the need of the nation, and the healthcare industry should come forward and interact with the academic institution and get their help, because we know that our academic institutions have very knowledgeable people who have been attracted from different parts of the world, highly trained people. They can understand their need and they can help them to develop new products which are needed for the industry. And instead of that, quite often I see that these industries, they look for the technology developed abroad, or they look for already developed products and they buy them and they sell them in Indian market. This is not going to help our country. We have to be self-sustainable, and we should develop our own products so that we don't have to pay the high cost of the technology, or we don't have to import the already finished products. So therefore, my suggestion in short, if I conclude my 15-minute talk, that we should start with the very good hygiene education in the childhood. We should train our illiterate people by television media or any other media, what is the hygiene, how infectious diseases can be avoided, how they should use the good nutrition to raise their children, they should eat good food, and how they can avoid the diseases. And eventually our industry and universities, industry and IITs, industries and medical institutions should join hands together to develop new products, so that we can become leader in developing the products rather than depending all the time on imported products. And this huge country of 1.3 billion people cannot afford. We have to innovate ourselves. We have to understand our needs, and there is enough competent manpower available in our higher education system. They can come and help the industry to develop new products. The only thing is, industry and university, industry and higher education institution should meet more often, sit together, understand each other's need and each other's competence to help the industry to develop new products. So with these words, I thank you very much that you invited me to deliver this small talk, and I hope that we will all take this message and pass it on to the right people to have a good, healthy future of this great nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for emphasizing on personal health care, hygiene, and nutrition, and enlightening us through your very own example. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As part of our future note, I now invite Mr. Anupam Kaul, 1979 IIT BHU alumnus, to introduce Ms. Mandakini Pawar, Head Healthcare Excellence, CII. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. Good afternoon to everyone. So let me introduce Mandakini Pawar. She is my colleague and leading the Healthcare Excellence Initiative in the CII. I think I'll leave it to Mandakini to talk a little more about the CII initiative. And I don't think I'll take more time because we are already hard pressed for time. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mandakini. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, Anupam sir, for introducing. Am I audible, Kirti?
Yeah, Ms. Mandakini, you're audible.
Fine. So I'll just share my screen with the PPT. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to IIT BHU for giving it such an honor to be a part of this August webinar. So my topic is basically the CII Healthcare Excellence Journey, and definitely it talks about the future of healthcare. So this is about CII, India's premier business association, which was founded in 1895. And it's a non-government, not-for-profit, industry-led and industry-managed organization, and plays a very proactive role in India's development process. We have around 9,000 members from the private as well as the public sectors, which of course includes the SMEs and the MNCs. We have an indirect membership of over 300,000 enterprises from around 265 national and the regional sectoral industry bodies. We have total around 65 offices all over India, and out of which 10 centers of excellences are there in India and 10 overseas offices. So it's a reference point basically for the Indian industry and the international business community. This is our CII Institute of Quality, which is in Bangalore, which is one of the center of excellence. And in fact, it is the first center of excellence on quality, and a nodal and the reference point for quality, and a pioneer for quality movement in India. We also are on some international quality boards, like Japan Institute of Plant Maintenance, then JMA, the Union of Japanese Scientists and the Engineers, Association of Overseas Technical Scholarships, American Society of Quality, Singapore Standards, BSI Group, that's United Kingdom, European Foundation Quality Management, and the Baldrige Foundation as well, and the Global Excellence Model Council. So coming to the healthcare context, that yes, we all are aware of that it is one of the India's largest sector, both in terms of the revenue as well as in the employment. And the range of activities, of course, it includes a hospital, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, laboratory diagnostics, medical education, telemedicine, even the medical value travel, health insurance, and so on. The major segmentation is the government sector and the private sector. In the government sector, the basic healthcare facilities are in the form of PHCs, and there is a limited secondary and tertiary care institutions in the key cities. If you look at the private sector, there is a secondary, tertiary, and the quaternary care institutions, with the major concentration is in the metros, that's in tier 1, tier 2 cities. If you look at the, yes, there is a great competitive advantage which we have, because we have a very large pool of well-trained, skilled medical professionals. There is a significant cost arbitrage is there. The market size, if you look at it, hospital industry, currently we have around 61.7 billion US dollars, and in projected in 2022 is around 133 billion US dollars, which is growing at the rate of CAGR 16 to 17%. The medical value travel, India ranks around 14th in the global destination, and currently it is around 6 billion US dollars, but it is growing at the CAGR of 22 to 25%. Dr. Indubhushan also mentioned about the government spending, that's the GDP, has grown from 1.2% of GDP in 2014 to 1.4% in 2018. And which is expected to rise to 2.5% by 2025. But there's a long way to go, because the countries like Brazil is also have around 8% of GDP spent in healthcare. There is an increasing preference for availing medical treatment from the private sectors, and it has been seen that there is an increase in hospitalization in private facilities, both in rural as well as in urban areas, and marking a rise in preference of private, basically the setups. This is the census of medical value tourism. Like we get around, say from Bangladesh, it's around 22%, and Maldives is around 18%. Afghanistan, Iraq, we have around 8 to 9%, and Nigeria is around 6%. And if you look at the Sri Lanka, Oman, and the Russia is around 3%, and UK and US, it's hardly 1 or 2%. So what are the concerns and the challenges today our industry is facing? we have increasing customer consciousness. There is a more fact-finding, low-cost efficiencies, high hospital-acquired infection rates. There is a disparity between the pricing and the quality, illegal and unethical practices, which is definitely, there is a trust erosion, which is impacting our credibility, lack of corporate culture, lack of business model innovation, lack of managerial skills. There is a less focus on the outcomes, very nascent use of IT and the data analytics, which is impacting our competitiveness. In terms of the workforce, there is a lack of skills. Besides the technicals, of course, there is a soft skill, motivation, and empathy. Lack of clear protocols, that's in terms of the processes, whether it is a clinical process or the non-clinical, and there is a high attrition rate in the sector. Another challenge which we have, there is a recent study has been done, and 110% rise in the number of medical negligence cases in India every year. And then 90% of all these cases in medical negligence involve the hospitals. So 60 to 66% of the filed cases are because of the hospitals not taking proper consent or because of the improper documentation, which is throughout the course of diagnosis and the treatment. So from the period 2008 to 2015, it has seen an exponential increase in the number of medical legal cases. So what are the different key metrics, which we track in our healthcare are like, hospital acquired infection, the medication errors, the patient turnaround time, the bed occupancy rates, even the LOS, that's the average length of stay. Then the utilization rates, that's in terms of the OT and ICU footfalls, and the revenue. But what we do not track, and which is a really major concern in our healthcare, and that is what is, if we want to make our healthcare sustainable, so we really need to look into these parameters. Like, for example, the leadership effectiveness, we do not really track whether our leadership is effective. Similarly, the return on investments in terms of, there are multiple things which have been manpower or the finance or the equipment and so on. Similarly, we do not track the effectiveness of our strategic planning process and the development. At the same time, we also do not track the employee engagement, employee productivity, the training effectiveness, even the segmented data in terms of the attritions, then the society perception scores, the customer loyalty, that's a net promotion score, environmental impact, that is like natural resources like water, waste and discharge, energy, and the carbon footprint. Similarly, there are a number of areas in which there is a huge waiting time, but we do not have the segmented data in terms of the waiting times. And similarly, in terms of the cost of maintenance, in terms of the equipment. So now coming to the excellence models, which the CI Healthcare Excellence Journey, which we started, we have these three models, which are worldwide, very well recognized and very well accepted. And these are the business excellence model, or you can call it as a performance excellence models, which is really a need of the hour for our industry to become globally competitive and sustainable. So the Malcolm Baldrige, it's an American award. The Deming is from Japan, and the European quality is basically called as the EFQM. So in manufacturing and in other service sector, we use the EFQM, and for healthcare and for education, we use the Malcolm Baldrige quality framework. Now, what are different business advantages which we get when we use these excellence models? So there is an enhanced customer satisfaction, which goes up to minimum by 30 to 40%. It also has a strategic focus. The revenue and the profitability goes up to by 20%. The cost reduction is around 25 to 40%. And similarly, the reductions in the defects or the cost of poor quality is up to around 40%. The new services which you introduce, the revenue enhancement is up to around 30%, which is a development focus. And the supply chain effectiveness is up to by 40%, wherein we take care of the reduced inventory, lead times, and so on. Also, there is enhanced asset utilization. People satisfaction goes up to by 20%, and energy savings and the water conservation goes up to by 40%. And community engagement also impact has around up to 60%, which is a societal focus. Now, how does this healthcare management framework work? The Healthcare Excellence Framework, which empowers you and your organization to reach its goals, improve your results, and become more competitive. And it is an outcome-focused, validated management model, which is based on the characteristics of the high-performing organizations. So it is very much customized to the business context. It takes care of your internal stakeholders. It takes care of your connected stakeholders like distributors, shareholders, your customers, your other customers, suppliers, financiers, and retailers. So basically all the stakeholders and the shareholders. At the same time, it also is customized to the external stakeholders like government, press, or media, pressure groups, local communities, and the society. So this is basically the framework is it talks about the leadership triad, and the leadership triad talks about leadership, the strategy, and the customers, which emphasizes the importance of a leadership focus on strategy and customers. The organizational profile will talk about set the context for your organization, and it serves as a background for all what you do. The results triad will talk about your workforce, operations, and the results. And the results will basically is the composite of all your healthcare and the processes, customers, and the workforce leadership and governance, and your financial and the market results. It definitely, the basis of the healthcare criteria is a set of core values and the concept, which is embedded in the high performing organization, and the system foundation, which is the measurement, analysis, and the knowledge management, which is one of the most critical component of the excellence in healthcare. So, which is critical to effective management and to a fact-based, knowledge-driven, agile system for improving the performance and the competitiveness. So this is the roadmap which we have basically designed. And the vision is to make our Indian healthcare industry globally competitive and improve the sustainability of our organization. So there are various stages the healthcare organization can go in for. And the CII, we give the handholding in various capacities and capabilities. So these are basically our different initiatives which we have started in terms of trainings, in terms of assessment, in terms of the consulting. So there are various trainings which we provide to the healthcare professionals and the doctors. So we launched this Baldrige framework in 2018 September in our country, and there is a tremendous support and the response which we are getting from all the hospitals, not only from the metro cities, but even from the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities as well. And the trainings which we are conducting and in terms of the capacity building are like on performance excellence training. Then there is healthcare executive trainings are there, data analytics, finance, healthcare finance. Similarly, there are multiple tools basically which we give training on, because these are tools which are very essential to implement the excellence framework in the healthcare organization.
Sorry to intervene, Mandakini ji. Can we quickly, wind up this thing?
Yes. Just few.
Yeah, we are running short of time. Very sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. Perfect. So these are various initiatives which we are basically dealing with. So we had also taken the international healthcare study mission to various hospitals in US. And these hospitals are like Hill Country Memorial Hospital, Herman Memorial Sugarland, and MD Anderson Cancer Center. These are Baldrige Winner hospitals, and therein we basically took the delegation to see the difference between what is the impact of excellence framework in terms of quality care to the patients and to the economy. So these are basically, I'll just quickly come to the slides. So in the leadership, we talk about how to share your vision and lead your organization. Strategy, of course, how to prepare the future, and then it will help you purpose answer 3 questions. Is your organization doing as well as it could? How do you know that? and what and how should your organization improve or change? So I won't go to the further slides because you're already running short of time. So just wanted to basically apprise you that how the excellence in the healthcare is a future of our Indian healthcare system, because it is based on various values and the concepts. And these are the core values which are very, very essential for our healthcare organization to become sustainable and globally competitive. And these values are like, it has to be a system perspective, there should be a learning and agility, focus on success. And also this, when we call about the success, it should be inclusive, it should be sustainable, it should be predictable, and it should be comprehensive. So with this note, would like to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandakini, for highlighting key metrics on healthcare, performance models, and the roadmap of healthcare. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah, so now that we've learned so much about healthcare, it's time to test our knowledge with fun quiz on healthcare. Please sit back and enjoy the quiz. We have two quiz, one on healthcare and one on IIT BHU. Our in-house quiz master, Pranav, will be organizing the quiz. I invite Pranav to conduct this event. Over to you, Pranav.
Hi, thank you, Kirti, for that. Good afternoon to everyone. I think it's well a time to.
Pranav, you are not audible.
Okay, am I audible now?
No, very, very low volume.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Pranav, it is okay. Just speak a little louder.
Speak louder.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let's begin with some fun part in the activity today. We have two quizzes designed for us. The first one would be on medical awareness, and the second one would be more oriented towards the general knowledge as well as towards the healthcare trends that are currently in the market. I'll be posting the links of both the quizzes on the chat, as well as I'll show them on the screen. Just give me a moment. Yes, so are the QR codes available to everyone?
Yeah, we can see them now.
Right. So either people can scan these QR codes and directly go to the quizzes, or I'll just share the links of the quizzes on the chat as well, and you can directly open the link from there. Whichever suits you best can be implemented.
The quiz winners are going to be awarded with Amazon gift vouchers.
Yes, 1,000 rupees each.
Yeah.
So I guess it's time for a fastest finger first competition. There are going to be two quizzes. Each will have about 10 questions, and all questions have a single correct answer. Please let me know in case you find some problem while attempting the quiz.
Pranav, did we post link for quiz 2 also in the chat box?
I did. Did it not post it? Just a second, I'll check it out.
Yeah, just bump up both quiz 1 and quiz 2 links in the chat box again. I hope all of you are answering the quiz. Started off with this already.
Can anybody tell me if the quiz links are working?
Yeah, Pranav, they are working.
They are working, Pranav.
Yeah, I went to the first one. I saw the question and then I had health problems, so I gave up. It's very tough, man. Kirti, those Amazon vouchers.
Old, Pramod?
Sorry?
Are you saying you are getting older now?
No, I'm getting younger. So no quizzes for me. I'm in kindergarten. Kindergarten, no quizzes.
Just think about Amazon watches, you'll get all answers.
If it's $1,000, I'm going to take a try.
If you're sponsoring it, then definitely we can do that, sir.
If you can answer all the questions correctly and the
He only
fastest
needs
at
enough
that.
motivation.
Rahul is still there on the call. Maybe he takes a call.
Yeah,
So at least do the quiz.
I'm pretending to do the quiz.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Pramod, you are exempted, huh?
Yeah.
You already had the paper leaked.
No, but I didn't see it. I didn't.
That is not acceptable.
I think it's time to lighten up the mood now, so it's good.
Yeah, I think, yes, you should get ready to play that ABBA video. Everybody has been waiting for it.
No, but I have to make my speech before that. Yeah, how can I do
Yeah. We skipped a step.
Yeah. So start preparing for it, Pramod.
Sir, I'm waiting to play that video since a couple of hours, so I'm all
Yeah, I know.
That's an overnight sensation, literally overnight sensation.
Yeah, I know.
I have also joined for the video.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Some of the questions are not technically correct, but
you will get marks anyway, Madhav.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
You can actually modify the question also if you want in the answer.
Great idea.
Like for instance, it says remdesivir is a cure. There is no cure for SARS, so it's not a cure. It's just wrong phrase is used.
Doesn't matter, Madhav. Give this feedback to the young alumni who's doing it. That's the way you have to coach them, right? If they don't make mistakes,
he's there.
Yeah, if they don't
I'm listening, sir.
If they don't make mistakes, Madhav, they will never learn. Yeah.
Madhav is a great motivator in UK Alumni Association.
And remember our college days. Those who did not know the answers to the questions could frame their own questions as answers. I mean, this has happened in examination time.
I think barring the first paragraph and the last paragraph, बीच में कुछ भी लिख सकते थे आप.
और फिर भी still you will pass.
Yes.
Debashish, ये तो जाती है भाई.
I hope there are no faculty members.
Too much reflecting on IT and BHU.
अरे faculty members हैं, अरे धर साहब है. Oh, sir, sorry. ये अंदर की बात बाहर करनी है.
Sir, this is something which you should listen to as a former student, not as a former faculty, sir.
I'm only hearing.
No, I know, but you should listen to it as a former student, sir, not as a former faculty.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 in 1.
Acha, we should we close the quiz now quickly?
Yeah, I think we should announce the answers.
Are there 2 quizzes or 1 quiz only?
2 quizzes.
There are 2 quizzes.
There are 2, sir.
When you scan the second quiz, it says only score about the first quiz. It doesn't show the second quiz.
You can use the link in the chat box also for quiz 2. That will directly take you to the other quiz.
No, time up, Nirupam. Sorry. Time up.
Okay. Fine. We'll announce quiz winners after our ABBA video.
Yeah. Go for the ABBA video now.
And promote the speech.
Yeah, and promote the
Yes.
Go for it.
So-
Go for it. Yeah.
I will anyways formally invite him.
Yeah.
I now invite Sanjay Nikor, 1982 IIT BHU alumnus. I'm so sorry, sir. Speaking with you, I spoke your name. I now invite Mr. Pramod Joshi, class of 79, electronics and chairman of Alumni Batch and Branch Ambassador Council, to introduce ABBA. Over to you, sir.
He's the Abba of Abba.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, go on mute.
Right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Loud
you.
and clear.
Yeah,
Loud and
we're all
clear, sir.
going
Loud
on
and
mute.
clear.
Hey, thank you, Kirti. I, Pramod Kumar Joshi, class of 1979, and chair the ABBA Council, am honored to be called upon to introduce the members of our Alumni Batch and Branch Ambassadors Council, which is about just 3 months young. The aim of this council is simple: to help bring our extensive body of alumni a little close In fact, a lot closer in the coming months and years. The council is 66 strong today with 49 batch ambassadors and 17 branch ambassadors, cutting across a whole spectrum of time, discipline, and geography. As we complete adding ambassadors for all the batches and branches in the coming weeks, we shall be growing to about double that number. The video that follows will introduce each of the current members of the AIBA group very quickly. So keep your eyes peeled, friends, and your ears tuned to this nostalgic musical note. Take it away, Yash.
और गिटार मोहल्ले की वो छत और मेरे यार वो रातों को जागना सुबह घर जाना कूद के दीवार सिगरेट पीना गली में जाके तो करना दांतों को घड़ी घड़ी साफ पहुंचना कॉलेज हमेशा लेट वो कहना सर का get out from the class वो बाहर जाके हमेशा कहना यहाँ का सिस्टम ही है खराब वो जाके कैंटीन में टेबल बजा के वो गाने गाना यारों के साथ बस यादें 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 रह जाती है कुछ छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती है बस यादें 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 रह जाती है कुछ छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती है बस यादें पापा का डांटना वो कहना मम्मी का छोड़े जिया तुम्हें तो बस नजर आता है जहां में बेटा मेरा ही खराब वो दिल में सोचना करके कुछ दिखा दे वो करना प्लानिंग रोज नई यार लड़कपन का वो पहला प्यार वो लिखना हाथों पे A+R वो खिड़की से झांकना वो लिखना लेटर उन्हें बार बार वो देना तोहफे में सोने की बालियां वो लेना दोस्तों से पैसे उधार यादें रह जाती है कुछ छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती है बस यादें 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 रह जाती है कुछ छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती है बस यादें का मौसम चला भूलता ही नहीं दिल मेरा कहाँ मेरी जीन्स और गिटार मोहल्ले की वो छत और मेरे यार वो रातों को जागना सुबह घर जाना
बस यादें 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 रह जाते हैं. Thank you so much, Mr. Joshi. On behalf
Great
of
job,
all of
great
us,
job.
we wish AIBA Council all the very best. Yeah, Dhir sir, please go ahead. You were saying something.
Great job, Joshi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are still adding to the team, and I know Devashish mentioned there are no members from the 91 and 92 years, but we are looking for more batch ambassadors and branch ambassadors. So please pass on names that you think will do justice to this
Make
role.
Professor Dhar the 1960 batch ambassador.
हाँ, एक्चुअली वो इतने सीनियर हैं कि उनको एम्बेसडर रोल छोटा लगता है मुझे, तो वो तो प्रेसिडेंट और
Professor Dhar is beyond a position.
हाँ, एग्जैक्टली तो उनको एम्बेसडर बनाने की तोहमत मतलब हम नहीं कर सकते ये काम.
Right, yeah.
He's too senior for that. But we will be looking for more. So the number will grow.
Pramod, एक और idea है. There are a lot of people in smaller countries, like of course UK, Australia, a few people are there.
Bangladesh also has
geographical representatives भी रखने से शायद और बढ़ेगा.
हाँ, नहीं हमारे पास है पूरे वर्ल्ड से हैं अभी, और अभी तो we have scope to grow another 70-80 in numbers. So we'll be looking for your recommendations. I think you know by now what kind of people will make good batch ambassadors. If you haven't yet realized, these are people who are well known in the batch, reasonably well accepted in the batch, who have a passion to give back to the institute, who are good team players, who don't carry a huge ego, who can work as a team like everybody can from IIT BHU, I know that. But we are looking for such people. So if you have names, please pass them on to me. A small interaction of 30 minutes is what I do, and then they are on board. So we have grown from 0 to 66 in 3 months. I think the next half will happen in the next 1 month. Thanks to all your inputs.
Professor Dhar can be requested to aggregate all other senior people from the academia who are chancellors, vice chancellors, and professors in other places, in other institutions. In fact, some of the responsibilities are.
Kirti, can we move ahead with the program, I guess, now?
Yes. Yeah. We have quiz 1 winners: Ayushi, Agarwal Suchi, Bharat Bharadwaj, and Garvesh. We have 5 more. We'll announce it. So we don't have it ready right now. We'll send out mail or WhatsApp all the Amazon gift vouchers to you guys. Thank you so much for participation. I now invite Sanjeev Nikor, 1982 IIT BHU alumnus, for vote of thanks.
Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Sanjeev, we are audible.
Oh, thank you so much. Great insights from this program. It was very rich in content. We overran the time, but I hope all of you had a great time listening to so many speakers and panelists talk about a range of things. I want to thank all the panelists and participants. I want to thank Dr. Kota Harinarayan and Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Kota Harinarayana, our Chairman of the Board of Governors, who kindly consented to participate in this program. I want to thank all partners, CII, also IIT Alumni, Pan IIT. I want to thank AWS, who's our platinum sponsor, and particularly Rahul, who has shown a fantastic gesture today by giving the $1,000 to each and every startup who participated in our program today, who presented in our program. So thank you so much. It was a great surprise from you, Rahul. Incredible. I want to thank particularly Dr. Ajit Singh for being such a fabulous moderator. Despite the fact I was just chatting with him, it is 3:30 in the morning in New York and he's still there and he just signed off. I want to thank all the speakers, starting with the starters, B.V. Jagdish sir, Anu Acharya, Pritish, Dr. Nair, Ajay Nair, all the startups. I can't name all of them right now because of shortage of time, but they did such a great job. We never thought that they would be able to make pitches in 3.5 minutes. These young alumni, students, startups have been able to do it in 3.5 minutes. I want to thank Puneet Binlish. I don't know whether he's there today, but for being such a good guide and mentor. I want to thank Dirghayu and his team, Ranga, Sudeep, who helped us design. I want to thank Vaibhav, who created the designs. The fantastic designs you are seeing are from Sudeep and Vaibhav. Then coming on to Dr. Rachesela, such a fantastic insight he gave us. Dr. Indu Bhushan, our own distinguished alumnus from 81 batch. What a knowledge, what experience sharing. We've all heard of National Health Digital Mission and National Health Authority, but the way he spoke and the granular insight he gave us. Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, she gave us such fabulous insights. Her articulation of the framework and tridemic were unique. And then Rahul, what a great insight into the digital infrastructure that India is building. And then coming on to our own Vice Chancellor, Professor Bhatnagar, who talked about such practical things and about how reform in education, institutions, and collaboration can happen. And then Mandakini Pawar giving us such fantastic insight from an industry perspective. Over and above, I want to thank the entire alumni, students, and faculty. I want to thank Nitin Malhotra for his help. I want to thank the entire executive of AIBA and IBGA. And I want to thank ABBA for contributing so massively into this program. Thank you, organizing team. But I want to particularly thank our young rock star, MC Kirti, for taking so much pressure. Despite the fact that we were going late, she held on and she was not ruffled at all. So great going, Kirti. Then Yash, who was our organizing head, for the fantastic calm he kept. Despite a few glitches, it all went on so smoothly. Thank you, Pranav. Thank you, young organizing team who have been Kannan and so many others. PhD chamber who helped us in the outreach. I can't take all the names. Guna being of such source of strength, Sunil Khanna ji all the time coming and guiding us, And Dr. Tripathi, I cannot thank you enough. You have been such a pillar of strength, Professor Srivastav and all the other people who have helped us. You have all been fabulous. Thank you so much. It was a great event. Thank you once again.
I think I have to have the last word as the president. I would like to thank Sanjeev Nikor for leading the effort fabulously.
Absolutely.
The amount of energy that he puts in throws me off this thing. I think it's just amazing.
We should all unmute and give him a round of applause. Unmute.
I think so.
Sanjeev, smile for the photograph. Yeah.
And I wish to put words of thanks and appreciation for the institute, from the institute side to AIBA, to Dr. Nikorji and Devashish ji, our president.
मैंने कुछ नहीं किया है. करने वाले आपके सामने बैठे हुए संजीव निकोर, राजीव गुप्ता, प्रमोद जोशी, श्रुता कीर्ति and everybody.
And the important most person in the AIBA affairs, Rajiv Gupta ji, Professor Dhar, who is always a backbone and support to the alumni activities. I'm very happy to see here Avijit Solanki ji representing as Chief Functionary of the IIT BHU Global Alumni Association, the Western India Alumni Association, Nitin Malhotra ji from Banaras Alumni Association. It's indeed a great pleasure to see you all together. Looking forward to great interactions ahead also. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We have posted quiz winners in the chat box. They'll soon receive Amazon vouchers from us. So until back to the future, have a great day and thank you so much.
Well done, Kirti. Thank you.
Nice.
एक बार वीडियो फिर से प्ले कर दे यश. एक बार वीडियो प्ले कर दे.
Replay. Once more.
Yes, sir.
And I think we should all remember Professor Tripathi has been a great contribution in this entire alumni movement. So,
And he
for long years.
is, and without his participation, nothing happens properly. Thank you very much, Professor Tripathi.
Before the video is played, let me thank Yash and Manhar, the two people who worked on getting all of it together. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Nice. Very good.
Absolutely.
On everyone's cue.
Yes, go ahead.
Requesting people to go on mute. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
जीन्स और गिटार छत और मेरे यार वो रातों को जागना, सुबह घर जाना, कूद के दीवार, वो सिगरेट पीना, गली में जाके वो करना दांतों को घड़ी घड़ी साफ, पहुंचना कॉलेज हमेशा लेट, वो कहना सर का get out from the class, वो बाहर जाके हमेशा कहना यहाँ का सिस्टम ही है खराब, वो जाके कैंटीन में टेबल बजा के वो गाने गाना यारों के साथ, बस यादें 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 रह जाती हैं, वो छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती हैं, बस यादें 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 रह जाती हैं, छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती हैं, बस यादें। पापा का डांटना, वो कहना मम्मी का छोड़े जिया, तुम्हें तो बस नजर आता है जहां में बेटा मेरा ही खराब, वो दिल में सोचना करके कुछ दिखा दे, वो करना प्लानिंग रोज नई यार, लड़कपन का वो पहला प्यार, वो लिखना हाथों पे A+R, वो खिड़की से झांकना, वो लिखना लेटर उन्हें बार बार, वो देना तोहफे में सोने की बालियां, वो लेना दोस्तों से पैसे उधार, यादें रह जाती हैं, छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती हैं, बस यादें 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 रह जाती हैं, छोटी छोटी बातें रह जाती हैं, बस यादें। का मौसम चला, भूलता ही नहीं दिल मेरा, कहाँ मेरी जीन्स और गिटार, मोहल्ले की वो चोली और मेरे यार, वो रातों को जागना, सुबह घर जाना।
Yay! Well done.
Great, great. Great. Well done. Fantastic.
And Nikorji, it is very heartening to see
Yes,
many young alumni who have graduated from our institute, and they have been functionaries in the student alumni interaction cell. Yash Shah and Pranav and many others. And it is very heartening to see, obviously, Rahul Sharma. He has been my student also. So I'm always proud of him that he has been contributing greatly in the institute also, and he has been making contributions at national level also in provisioning of cloud services and in other respects. And today the gesture that he has shown in terms of awarding $1,000 to each of these startups is going to be a very helpful thing as an initiation, and very many people will come forward to help our young entrepreneurs, those who are incubating technologies in the institute. Very nice. Thank you all very much.
Sir,
for doing this.
I may speak for all the past SAIC members.
Yes.
The inspiration that Professor Tripathi has given to us, the role model he was back in our college days, give us this energy and enthusiasm to work for the alma mater. So I think all the kudos and all the best wishes to Professor Tripathi. Thanks a lot, sir, for being a role model and inspiration.
Very well
Thank you.
said, sir. Yes, sir. I personally agree with that, and I think कि मेरा खुद का जितना interaction और जितना orientation towards the alumni community हुआ है वो पूरा का पूरा त्रिपाठी सर के कारण है.
Most welcome. I'm very happy to
Rightly
see you
said,
all.
rightly said. Thank you so much, Tripathi sir.
Most welcome.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks a lot
Thank you,
to
everyone.
everybody. And our intention is to go on encouraging and involve more and more students and young alumni. And
Nice.
with your Guru Rakshana and your Marg Darshan, I should say, Professor
Yes.
Tripathi, that will happen.
आजकल मार्गदर्शन वर्ड यूज नहीं करते हैं बॉस.
मेंटोरशिप तो प्रमोद जी आपकी है सबसे ज्यादा.
मतलब आजकल अडवाणी जी कोई नहीं बनना चाहता.
सही कह रहे हो. Okay, thanks everybody. All great fun. मजा आ गया सर, मजा आ गया.